actually live. Let me post this. Hold on. Let me get the link here. Send this to the village. There, we'll start a new one. We might have to. See me. Comments. I see 2 of you guys here. All right, I think I'm going to start over then. That was weird. I see your messages. All right, we hear you. Okay, we're good. Okay, all right. You say. Okay, that was weird. I don't know. But I ended up on the live stream of the "Now You a Single Mom" that guy of that. And so I tried to get back on this one and I just couldn't for some reason. So I don't know what happened. I think they're, and I see you just pixely. Am I pixely, you guys? Guys, let me know if I'm pixely or if the resolution is clear. Okay, you good? Glow, is good? Damn, 13. 13 people already. All right, once we get to 15 people, I'll go ahead and get started. You say. Once we get to a little pixelated, I don't want that. I don't want that. Why? That's weird. All right, hold up. I'm going to try something. It might disconnect me, but we're going to get this right. I'm going to try something. It might disconnect me, but we're going to get this right. Let me know if there's been a change in the resolution. Let me know if there's been a change. It's not like Dr. Umar. Let me know if there's been a change in the resolution. Let me know if there's been a change in the resolution. It's slightly better. There has slightly better, like looks better, like back to normal, or looks better, not that bad. Watchable? No, we don't want to do watchable. We want 5K. We want 5K HD because I'm talking about 5K HD stuff. You understand? Better? Better is not best. Better is not best. Let me try another thing. That's so weird that it's doing that. Turn that off for sure. Did the resolution change? I saw 2 hearts. That means the resolution is at 5K, right? Normal. All right, good. Obidole, he said, all right, cool. So I'm glad we got through that together. So once we get to 15 people, I'm going to go ahead and begin. As always, my name is Derek Ofaderunwa. I teach Igbo spirituality, culture, and cosmology here on the Medicine Shell. For those of you who are interested in that topic, go ahead and hit the like button. I don't even know if YouTube counts that stuff anymore, but tap the screen actually. Try that. How are you guys making the little hearts show up? Tap the screen. SC, Ndewo. JD Bailey, Ndewo. Good to see you guys. Ndewo. We need one more person and we're good. Post this on the group chat. Post this on the Instagram. Post this on your TikTok. Post this everywhere you can. Post this on Facebook. You know, post this in the family group chat. Tell them they need to wake up. Tell them they need to wake up. Post this on the family group chat. Post this in your church message board. Get it out there. Get it out there. Get it out there. Do. I see the 100s. I see that. Okay, this is different. This looks like yeah, keep tapping the screen, I guess. That's kind of cool. Ademma, Jashike. You say. If we get 2 more people, I'll go ahead and begin. I hope you guys have questions ready. As always, ask me questions. Once the questions run out, I go home. I leave. But anyways, yeah, like I said, this is Derek with the Medicine Shell. Best way to support is joining our Patreon community, patreon.com/the Medicine Shell. At the highest tier, you have full access to the in-house, I'm sorry, not the full in-house DBA, but the medicine class, the traditional medicine class. People are shooting fireworks, so maybe that's gonna make this look more cinematic. Ademma. You guys must have an updated YouTube. My tap doesn't do anything. I don't even know how they're making the hearts show up. I just know on other platforms, the taps come from the hearts, or the hearts come from the taps. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they're making it happen. How are you guys making little hearts pop? Ndewo village reticulated. Ndewo reticulated. One them. Ndewo. So we get 5 more people in here. We're good to go. Send this to anybody who you know would be interested in the topics we discuss. As always, with this, come with your questions. Once the questions run out, I go. Even if we've hit 15. He said, oya kaibido. Okike keruwa. Halawala. Hala ne mmadụ na ne mmụọ. Hala na-enye ndụ. Nke na-enye nke ọma. Nne mụrụ mmadụ, nne mụrụ mmụọ, nne mụrụ ọkpụ, nne mụrụ ichie. Ụmụ gị abịala. Owu obiọma ka anyị ji na-ekele gị. Obi, ọkpụ na ichie. Obi, ụmụ ajana na ụmụ kpakpando eluigwe. Owu obiọma ka anyị ji ekele ogbu egbe eluigwe nke na-agba egbe nke na-aza ikpe. Nke anyị na-akpọ nna nna anyị, nna mụrụ nna anyị, Amadioha ka ebi n'eluigwe. Anyị ji obiọma na-ekele gị. Anyị ji obiọma na-ekele chi, na-ekele eke, na-ekelekwe ala, na-ekele igwe. Okwu nke ga-enwe uche, okwu nke ga-enye obiọma, okwu nke ga-enye ntozi eto. Otu a ka ọ ga-adị na eke, n'orie, n'afọ, na nkwọ ise. All right, let us go ahead and begin. I am not seeing a damn question. All right, there we go. Mike, you're, of course, I can always count on you, Mike. I appreciate it. What are your thoughts on energy healing according to Igbo spirituality? Energy healing. Are you talking about like Reiki? Be specific. Reiki? Energy healing is a part of all forms of healing in Igbo spirituality. When healing is done, we address Mmuo, we address Mmuo. In order to find out how to heal Mmuo, it is best to ask Mmuo. There are multiple methods that you can use to ask Mmuo. Mmuo is spirit for those who don't know. Method number 1, you can ask spirit by way of Igbo Mmuo, which is communion or intercommunication with spirit itself, which itself has a bunch of different methods. But think of entering a trance state. I strongly believe when people take things like ayahuasca, that it's a form of Igbo Mmuo, what many refer to as spirit mounting and so forth. That is one. Spirit can tell you how to heal spirit. Another one is divination. Another one, these are all communions with spirit, communication with spirit. Another one's divination. And then there's Igbo Chi, which is communion or communication with your own Chi. Igbo Mmuo, think of Igbo Mmuo as like a deep sleep. Think of Igbo Chi as deep awakening. So meditation, physical movements like exercise, walk, let me not say exercise, taking a walk, light exercise, let me say that. Anytime you're in that flow state and your higher senses start to activate, that is Igbo Chi. You are tapping into yourself. But in all those methods, there's an ilu that says Madoju afa chia, which means when a person asks the diviner asks their chi. And by diviner, I actually mean the instrument of divination, right? When a person asks a diviner, the diviner asks their chi. So ultimately, the best answers will come from your chi. The most clear answers come from your chi. But there's options. Once you figure out how to address the more portion of the ailments, you address both of them. That is why Igbo spirituality and healing incorporates the healing of Mado and the healing of Mmuo. Whatever is affecting the body, that thing has a spirit, and that spirit has a nature, and that has to be addressed as well. So energy healing is a part of all healing, because from what I'm thinking you're saying, energy healing is healing while addressing more. Cool. Where are we at? I'm seeing really good questions. Chi healing, what people do in Qui Gong. Yeah, so that all of that affects more. All of that pertains to more. It strikes me that the Chinese chi or kui, I don't know how they say it, but I've heard it as chi. The Chinese chi refers to seems to refer more to ikenga, vital energy, your vital energy. So in the Igbo worldview, what the Chinese called the chi, we call the ikenga. But then, right, the chi is the source of the ikenga. So somehow, some way, we're both talking about something very similar, but slightly different. What is your takes on the different facets of Ogugun? Different facets of Ogugun. Uh, can you elaborate on what you mean by that? Can you elaborate on what you mean? For those who don't know, Ogungun is an arushi that channels Omumu. It is an arushi that channels Omumu. What an arushi is a place or a device or an edifice that channels or opens a communication portal with a particular force or spirit. So if you want to think about arushi in the day to day, think about your satellite dish. If you have satellite for some reason, if you have a satellite dish, that satellite is an arushi for the wavelengths that you use to watch things. A solar panel is an arushi for receiving and using the energy portions of solar light, or the energy properties of solar light. Your sink is an arushi for channeling tap water, right? And Ogugun is an arushi that channels a certain energy known as Omumu. Omumu is the procreative energy. So think about fertility, think about magnetism, think about manifesting, think about creativity. All of that are the different facets of Ogugun, right? The different things that Ogugun addresses. But I would be more interested in you elaborating when you say facets of Ogugun, because I know that the energy that Ogungo channels, it addresses these facets: manifesting, your capacity to make something happen without moving, right? Ogungo channels fertility, wealth, like the magnetism of wealth magnetism, personal magnetism, right? Um, what's another one? And so forth, and all those different things. Now, that energy that it channels, the way a solar panel channels sun energy, Omumu, that is the feminine energy. It is what we're calling the West the feminine energy. The earth has this same feminine energy. The universe has the same feminine energy. Rivers and bodies of water have this feminine energy. And then, of course, women have this feminine energy. The Omumu challenges the feminine energy, and therefore, Ogungun is a woman. And so the same things Ogungu can do, women have within them to do the same thing, right? The general idea of the feminine energy is that it can bring about growth, it can bring about magnetism, it can bring about manifestation without movement. Those of you who have grown up in any black culture anywhere in the world know about the prayerful mother, right? The prayerful mother, a woman's ability to make things happen by way of words, a woman's ability to receive by way of intuition, a woman's ability to give by way of presence. All of these are the Omomo as well as the creative. So if you go to a lot of ancient cultures, you'll see that the creative elements of society are tied to women, are connected to women. Even a lot of the great creatives here in the West, if you read their story, there's some woman that they're stealing the book from, they're stealing the poem from, and so forth. But that's a select few, and that's a whole different story. But the creative energy of the world is a feminine energy, and that is the Omomo. It is for a woman what the Ikenga is for a man. So all of these are facets that Ogungun channels. Ogungun as an arushi is probably the most Ogungun. It's hard to say. It's hard to speak English, say Ogungun, and then keep going. Ogungun in Okija is probably the most popular arushi in the world right now, as far as Igbo spirituality. And the way Arushi gain their popularity is by working, if they work, right? There's no such a thing as I'm going to the shrine because it's Sunday, or I'm going to the shrine because I believe it. Every Arushi, it's up to the Arushi and the people who keep that Arushi to prove to you that the thing works. So when an Arushi becomes very popular, or people seem to go to that one, it's because it works. It's because it's proven to work over and over. It's because it's produced results for other people, and so forth. Right now, I can set up an Arushi and say, "Oh, this is Derek's Ogogon," in America, and you'll come and you'll say, okay, I'm trying to have this happen, and you'll do whatever I require for that thing to happen, or whatever it requires for that thing to happen, and then you step away and it doesn't work, right? Then my arushi is garbage. You don't have to pay attention to it. But Ogungun is used for manifestation. Ogungun is used for justice. Ogungun can be appealed to, like in trials and trying to figure out the truth about something and try to read the unseen elements of a situation and so forth. So if that explained, answer the question, that'd be cool. Otherwise, if you can elaborate, I'd appreciate it. Can you explain Mmuo Sochi? Yes. Mmuo Sochi is your Chiwa. Mmuo Sochi is Sorochigi is your Chiwa. Mmuo Sochi literally says the spirit that follows your chi into the world, right? Which is your Agon. So here are some different names people use for Agon. I always use Agon because I don't want to cause confusion. People will say Mmuo Sochi. People will say Onyilo. People will say Ilo. People will say Onyowa, right? Onyowa, your universal person, your worldly person, your earthly person. Onyilo, your returner, because the nature of this particular spirit is when you pass, it returns back into the world through a new person. The Chiwa, which is your chi on earth, your chi in the world, right? Because it is your guide, it is the representative of your creator and so forth. And yeah, and then Agun, the word Agun is like something that doesn't end, right? Something that doesn't end, something that is perpetual, because that particular element of self goes and comes back and goes and comes back and so forth. So, Adema. All right, how do you deal with spirit spouses, and can they have negative effects on life? Yes, so spirit spouses most of the time will have negative effects on life, and there's two ways to deal with them. Way number one is to keep it in, like to broker a better relationship, but keep it, right? Broker a better relationship, but keep it. Another method is to completely separate it, right? So the brokering of a better relationship. Once it's identified that this is what is afflicting you, a Dibia who is skilled enough can establish communication with it and more or less figure out what it wants. Okay, why are you following this person? Why do you choose this person? They can also, if you guys are hearing that there's fireworks going off, Namdi, you can see it right there. Look. Yeah. So, all right. He said, so, what was I going to say?
Wow.
That's pretty cool, huh? Yeah. Algo, Mmuo Sochi. Spirit spouse, yeah. So in negotiating a better relationship, one of the things you can do is to establish communication with it. Once communication is established, you kind of figure out what it wants and why it's bothering you and that kind of thing. Once it kind of makes its wants and needs clear, the DBA can do a severance to separate you from it, or they can do a situation where it stays with you, but it's in a more controlled way. So if it stays with you in a controlled way, which is common, it's not uncommon for this to happen, because while they can have negative effects, it's not all negative, right? Nothing's all negative. So in essence, you kind of have to understand again what it wants and what aspects of your life it's holding and controlling. And then if you want to keep it in your life, typically what I'll see is like they'll have a home somewhere in the compound, right? You'll make a home for them, or a room somewhere in the compound, and there'll be a set day of the month, or the moon, I should say, a set day of the moon, a set day of the year, or a set day of the week, depending on how serious or how active you want to be, where you visit it, right? Where you visit it. Some of these separations, one of the really cool separations I've seen people do in Oguta was you learn the dance of the spouse, and once a year everybody who's been healed by this particular shrine will come and do the dance of their spirit spouse and so forth. But the idea is, I'll deal with you once a year, but you got to leave me alone for the rest of the year so I can live my life and so forth. The reason this particular way of healing is interesting to me is because if you understand this, you will understand how and why the idea of vaccination comes from Africa. how and why the idea of vaccination comes from Africa. Vaccination says, I'm not going to rid you of this virus. I'm going to renegotiate the relationship you have with this virus so that it can now be a protector. So a lot of the people that keep the spirit spouse in their domain, it can be a protector, it can be a guide, right? Things associated with water, which spirit spouses tend to be, things associated with water are very good at helping people with like wealth, creativity, and fame, though I've been advised never to ask for fame at an altar, or never to ask spirit for fame, right? So, but it helps with those three things, right? It helps with those three things. And once you kind of understand the nature of marine spirits or spirits that come from water, a lot of like the entertainment world starts making sense. A lot of the entertainment world starts making sense. But yeah, it's as far as spirit spouses, it's the choice of the person what they want to do. Because you know most people at home don't want to deal with it. They want to have like a very conventional life, because it's a more communal culture. It's almost always a hard severance, like, hey, I don't want, I'm good on this. But sometimes they'll even tell you that no, we can't do a full separation, but what we can do is the controlled relationship. So yeah, that's really it. That's really it. Kademma. It's really just about you taking control of the relationship. But yes, they can have negative effects. So some of the negative effects a spirit spouse can have is repelling away suitors. So like after you sleep with somebody, all of a sudden like they have like extreme nightmares like while they're with you, or they feel like physically drained, and like just a whole bunch of different things. And it's not like it happens once or twice, it's like it happens every single time, right? Or this like being repelled somehow, that kind of thing. But some people are just repulsive. Don't think that people are running away just because of spirit spouse. I beg. Some people are just some people just repel good things. So don't. It's not just because of spirit spouse that people are running away after the first date. You know, it's not just because of spirit spouse that people run away after the first date. But one of the things can be one of the things, because it's like the person will feel an energy that is pulling them away, pushing them away from you. Right, so yeah, that's really that, you know. I think Jesus is a spirit spouse, but that's a whole different situation. It's a whole different conversation. When can you say on those born on Eke Day? Oh, what can you? Okay, let me see if there's a question before that. Okay, no. What can you say about those born on Eke Day and their relation to the fire elements? Also, Anyanwu, patron deity of Eke Day. Yeah. So Eke Day is the first day of the Igbo calendar. The Igbo calendar is 4 days. Eke, Urie, Afo, Nkwo. These 4 days are also pathways by which you enter and exit the world. And because your creator has a plan and a purpose for you, or brings you into the world to actualize a specific reality, they're going to bring you through one of those doors for a reason. So paying attention to which door you came through is going to tell you a lot about yourself. Those doors are days. They're also known as rivers. In the Igbo, we have a Dibia class at Kedu. So if you guys are interested, by the way, we're actually signing up for the next session right now. If you guys are interested in the traditional medicine class, try to message me by the end of the month, or try to sign up by the end of the month. It's not the deadline, but by that time, last time I was very liberal with how many people I'd allow in the class. This time I'm not playing that game again. I'm hard limits, right? Hard limits. So try to sign up by the end of the month, or message me if you're interested so I can reserve. But I'm put hard limits on the number of people I'm having in class next time. But going back to what I was saying. So if you come through on Eke Day, light comes through on Eke Day, the sun comes through on Eke Day, as well as darkness and so forth. Those who are Eke people have a very strong presence, leadership. They're natural leaders. If they can't be the leader, they are the rebel. If they can't be the leader, they are the rebel. They tend to want the situation to cater to them, but at the same time, they have very strong convictions to what they are and who they are and so forth, right? They know who they are. They're very, very confident, very like they know they know what it is, right? And so forth. If they decide it's going to be this way, that's just the way it's going to be. they tend to not have a lot of disturbances with spirit. This is something I learned recently. They tend not to have a lot of disturbances with spirit because everything respects Ekede. Everything respects Ekede. So they don't tend to have a lot of spiritual disturbances. The people who tend to have the most like activity as far as spirit are Uriya people, water people that come on the second day. And this is just something I've seen with my own two eyes. So that's the nature of Eke. Eke is related to light, dark, fire, creation. Trying to think of some other things. Anyanwu, the sun. Chineke, right? The God itself, right? That kind of thing. Does an Ikenga statue provide any significance? Also, can I buy any online, or is there something specific I'm looking for? Yeah, so the Ikenga, I think the statue does have a significance, and I think the statue is important and necessary, especially one that is activated. I'm actually working on trying to get some, like, to supply some, or to have like a supply of some. So keep an eye out for that. I'm currently working on that right now. I'm going to try to do it in a way that's sustainable and so forth. So it's something I've been working on for a long time. But with that being said, as far as the Ikenga, I would not buy an Ikenga from a poacher, which are all the ones you'll see online, like authentic African statue, Ikenga god of fortune, all that stupid. I don't buy that. That's somebody else's Ikenga. That's madness. You don't know what you're inviting. It's not your own, right? The one you use has to be one that was made for you, or that you were the one who it was made for, right? Not to be sharing somebody's because their son decided to go to church and steal the Ikenga and sell it, right? That kind of thing. So, can you clarify the difference of Eke and Mado? Awesome, yeah. So, Mado is a part of Eke, but Eke is more than Mado. Eke and Chi are, in essence, not really that different, right? It's like saying you and your spirit. So me and my spirit are not really that different. What you're getting from me, you're getting from my spirit. What you're getting from my spirit, you're getting from me. There's no difference, right? There's never a time where you and your Mmuo have an argument. It's like your left and right leg. So, but Eke is your Chi in the manifest, in the universe. Eke is your Chi, like if you think about the Chi as an idea. Let's think about Chi like the idea to write a book. The Eke is the book, right? The Mado is also the book. But the Eke goes beyond that physical book. The Eke is the effect that that book has, right? And let's say it starts from that book, and one person reads it, and they pass it on to another person, and that person passes it to another person, and then that person becomes an author and begins to write their own books, and then that author inspires another person to make a movie, and all that whole thing that pans out, right? The entire event, that is actually what you are, right? So it's not just that you are the physical, or you're not just a person. You are this almost like when you put a pebble in water and it ripples out. You are this rippling out, this effect, and all of the things. You want to talk about the butterfly effect and so forth. Everything that was touched by the butterfly effect was touched by the butterfly, right? So your Eke is that whole big thing. Eke can be used to say your akaraka, your destiny, right? That's one of the ways to say destiny. Because you are not just a physical vessel, you are also a destiny. You are also a story. You are also a song, right? So if you want to see the full or understand the full whole of a person, using the term Eke is a good way to describe it. It is that inspiration or that energy, the Chi, manifesting into the physical world and actualizing the reality it was designed to actualize, right? So that is the Eke. Mado is a part of Eke, but Eke is bigger than Mado, okay? Odemma. You're explaining it? La! Are AI models arushi? I would say so. Yeah. I would say so for sure. The word arushi means the source of works. The source of works. Ebe arushi, bia. The source of works. People are trying to like make it some other stuff, but like I don't say stuff I don't know. So the source of works, arushi, ebe arushi, right? That kind of thing. So the source of works, the source of wonders, the source of power, that kind of thing. And if an AI model is You can call it that if you want. Yeah, you can call it that. A lot of DBS and practitioners and nzes and things like that at home, they will say that Afa was the first AI. They'll say that Afa, Divination, was the first AI. Greetings, brother. Chief Kenzo, greetings. Happy to see you here. Ben Real, the Peacekeeper. Ndewo, my brother. I love your name, man. On your last show, you spoke about receiving arushi or doing rituals, not just for yourself, but to help family and others. That opened my eyes, and I'm changing the way I view my journey. Powerful, powerful, powerful. And a glow, man, I really appreciate everything you shared with us and everybody in the medicine class. It's been a blessing having you as a part of the village, man. So thank you, thank you. Yeah, that's really what it's about. The thing is, when we talk about let me put it this way. If you want to get an African view of the idea of purpose, right, and the idea of person, it is not so, it's that your chi, your creator, filled your cup with more of something than it filled for other people. And everybody has their own. And the ultimate contribution is to share it with those in your community that don't, or just in the world that don't have as much of it or don't have that thing, right? So whatever your chi blesses you with, you're almost like a custodian of it. It's not for you to use and aggrandize yourself. It's for you to use in service of those who don't have it, right? Those who are blessed with exceptional foresight are to guide those who can't see, right? We even still have this tradition at home. Family members that become very wealthy, the expectation is for them to help others in the family become wealthy, or to be there when money matters arise, right? That kind of thing. So like myself now, I live in America, so I classify as rich. And so even though I'm here scrounging, but anytime like there's a funeral back home, everybody will gather and everybody will donate something. But my natural inclination is to donate like the most or as high as like whatever everybody's like the greater bulk, right? The greater bulk, because I have more opportunity. I've been blessed to be in this humongous economy, and so of course I have to give more in that sense, right? And that's not just me, it's everybody in my family that's quote unquote doing well for themselves and so forth. This is how it's always been, this is how it's always going to be as far as the culture goes. And so that's how blessings and stuff come too. One of the big issues is when you have, let me say this, there's an ilu, our people say uwa bwahia, the world is a market. Uwa bwahia, the world is a market. And the essential nature of the world is that whatever you receive is to flow through you, right? It's just like a market. Like you're selling beans, somebody buys up all your beans, you take the money, you go give it to somebody that gets you more beans, you go sell more beans. You see how the currency flowed through that transaction or that situation. The beans flowed through, so on and so forth. But if a person becomes a blockage onto themselves or for their chi, the clogged pipes burst, right? Clogged pipes burst. So, for example, now if I decide to eat all that money, like okay, I sold all my beans, I go take that money and I don't know, maybe I bury it in the ground or something. That's the end of, I can't be a part of that current anymore, right? So when you receive these gifts from your chi, maybe you have exceptional strength. Maybe you have the gift to create things that other people can't create. Maybe you have some type of artistic vision. Maybe you have a great voice. Maybe you have insight that other people don't have. Maybe you become very wealthy. Maybe you know how to do real estate very well. All of that is supposed to flow through you. That is the natural current of the world and the nature of your chi. And so long as it flows through you, the more it continues to flow. It doesn't end. It doesn't end, right? Until you decide to end it, out of ego or stubbornness. So what Glow was saying about, not just doing for the self in your journey, but doing for the people around you, ultimately that's what it is. A person who is a dibia, right? So they can be afflicted by a thing called ara agun, which is agun madness. It is a rupturing of your mind and your ability to perceive reality, because you're going against your agun, right? Your agun is the part of you that comes into the world with that purpose. That is the Mmuo chi that we were talking about earlier. So your agun comes into the world to actualize a purpose, and maybe you're doing the complete opposite, right? So DBAs, you're typically supposed to be a healer, and so forth. And maybe you're not healing, you're just like robbing banks. And then all of a sudden, your brain fries, and you start having a shattered sense of reality. When a big part of the healing for that process is you learning that the gifts that you have are supposed to be used to heal others. That spirit that is giving you that gift is needs you to act in the physical as it acts in the spirit, right? And so long as, if in order for you guys to work together, that has to be the relationship. So it's not that you can read tarot cards and you're using it to figure out, you know, I don't know, how to pick up girls and stuff like that. But it's like, there's people that need readings and so forth. So be available for them, and that kind of thing. Make it, be a part of that current. The more you externalize your gift, the more external your gift is, right? That is the nature of growth is this. The nature of the sun is this. So the more you externalize your gift, the more natural that current is, and the more peace you have with the spirit that gives the gift. So a lot of DBA healing is just learning that whatever that special gift is, share it with the world, help use it as a custodian for those who don't have it, right? And so forth. So I had an out-of-body experience and was taken to an endless forest full of telepathic plants. Wow. My friend said this was Arobinagon. I agree. I am vegan and very good with herbs. Thoughts? Arobinagon. That was... That's just a standard, very loud and clear Arobinagon visitation, right? Standard, very loud and clear Arobinagon visitation. The fact that you know that you're good with herbs tells me that you're on the right path, because Arobinagon speaks to the herbalists, right? So that dream came to you as a dream. If you were way too far from that idea, it would have come to you as like a slap in the head. So the fact that it came to you as a dream, it means that you are on the right path. You're flowing the way you're supposed to be flowing, and that kind of thing, right? You're flowing the way you're supposed to be flowing, and that kind of thing. Peacekeeper, man, thanks for sharing that. That's a very powerful dream. But the wisdom that plants have, Arobinagon is the key to unlocking the wisdom that plants have to share with each other, regularly share with each other, and are able to share with us if we're willing to listen, right? So you have a very special gift. All right, chat, good night. So I'll have to finish tomorrow. Okay, Carl, Ademma, thanks for being here. Where did Igbo masquerades originate from? This is a really, really good question. And I have a very strong belief that they have been with Igbo people since the beginning of anything we can identify as Igbo culture. The reason I say so is because all cultures, I always say Kwa language family, sometimes I'll say Bantu, but there's a connection that the Black African cultures have, and they all express that connection by way of masquerade. They all express that connection by way of masquerade. The only difference, or the only place I see that it doesn't happen that much, is like with San people, Khoi San. I don't know how to say it. Khoi San people, they don't really use too much masquerades. But the fact that Central and West Africa all have this nearly identical spirituality, and masquerades are a part of it, it tells me that that thing's been with us since the very beginning. For this reason, masquerades are, there are many things, but one of the things you can look at them as like historians. They are windows into history. They are windows into the past. I have a friend who's very adept at reading masquerades, and he said that he was able to see that there was a point that Igbo land was very cold. There was a point that Igbo land was very cold because a lot of the earliest masquerades look like they're wearing jackets or look like they're wearing furs. And I was like, what? And I went and looked, and I was like, yo. We were able to, I think I can't remember which one of us did it, but one of us was able to trace the migratory pattern of a certain group in Gabon based on the masquerade they use. Like once you understand what you're looking at, you can decipher things a little better. I'm actually, in my next video, I'm telling a story of the origin of the Owu masquerade. The Owu masquerade. My father did Mmuo, which is Introduction to the Spirit, for me, my sister, and my immediate young. All right, so it said reconnecting. I guess we're back. So yeah, what was I saying? I'm telling the origin story of the OU because it's the origin of the awful. Uchechi Dibechi's in the building. Dibia. Okala mo, okala mado. Kedu. Adema. Yes, I'm gonna get into that class birthday present to myself. All right, man. I'd love to have you. Cool, man. Let's chop it up when you're there. Adema. Get it too often, familiar strangers. Born Ekede. Adema. Wonderful. Did our ancestors have a telecommunication channel? Oh, such a good yeah, many of them. So one telecommunication channel was the ekwe, or the talking drum. If I strike the ekwe, it'll reach miles. If that message was to be transferred, the person with the ekwe in that community will begin their own, it'll spread. That next person, the next person, the next person, we can get a message across the whole of Africa in a matter of minutes, if not hours, right? I saw someone do a calculation. If like if you follow that chain, the ekwe chain, and it said that you can like basically span the whole United States in like less than an hour. It was fun. It was insane. So the ekwe was a means of mass communication. So all of the Kwa languages, right? They say that they're tonal, but they're really rhythmic. They're really rhythmic. People say tonal, but we have a Igbo language class in Kedu. So if you guys are interested, hit me up or sign up on Kedu, www.kedu.me. We're starting in August. So they're rhythmic. And so when you're talking, like if you're speaking Igbo, you can hum the rhythm of a sentence, and someone who understands Igbo will hear what you just said, just from you humming. Like if I say, Odimma. Odimma. I'm just following the rhythm of that. Ofoderenwa, which is my name. It says the same thing, right? One of the things we teach in Kedu as far as the language is that if you hear your instructor say a word, sing it the way they're singing it. It's just the way now in like with English speakers where if you're humming a song, right? If you're humming a song, you know what song that person's humming and you know the words and that kind of thing. So the ekwe does the same thing. It has the talking drum has the different tones for the language, so that all you need to hear is that rhythm. You'll be like, oh, they're saying this and this and that. And then of course some listeners are more adept than others and become players and so forth. But that was one means of telecommunication. Another, I don't know if you want to call it telecommunication, but another means of communication was insibidi, right? So one of the ways that people used to transfer messages, especially with like the secret societies that had insibidi, was they would write something on somebody's body. They would write something on your body, and the person they wrote on their body wouldn't know what it says. You don't know what it says, and then you walk and travel and go to the next village, and somebody who can read it will look at what it says. Okay, bet. Okay, wash them off, write another one on their body, and go. I thought it was funny that they did the body, but then I kind of started understanding the logic that if you write it on like paper or you write it on like a stone or something like that, it can be lost or replaced and so forth. But if you use something semi-permanent on the body, then almost like a tattoo or like a henna, right? Then it's like, oh, okay, this is what this person was trying to say, or they wrote it on their arm. Okay, this is what this person was trying to say, and so forth. And so that was, if you want to count that, that was one. Another one I saw, and there's a lot of you guys in the chat are not going to believe me, but when I was studying the Ekumeku resistance was a bunch of like masquerade societies militarizing to fight the British, specifically the Royal Niger Company. One of the things I saw was the British said that when they were fighting, they would encounter these people who their body was buried up to like their shoulders in the sand, and they would have these metal hats on. They would have a metal hat, and they'd have a flute in their mouth, and they'd just be blowing this flute. And one of their guide said that they're communicating with the birds, and the birds are communicating back to them, right? Of course, they would shoot the person that was there, and the person would they wouldn't move, this boom, that kind of thing. And so they were using the birds to surveil and look at the area, kind of radar, sonar, whatever you want to call it. is what the person told them. So I found that really fascinating. And if you look at, because the Ekumeku happens around the area is Igbo land, but it's close to Benin. If you look at a lot of the Benin bronzes, you see these guys with those metal bowls, like a metal bowl kind of hat, almost like a modern military helmet, and then they'll have a flute in their mouth. And you see so many depictions of this person, and you'll think, okay, this is just an instrumentalist or somebody who like blows the horn and that kind of thing. But when I was reading the description, it took me back to those bronzes. I was like, oh, that's something else. So that's one. Another one is Ekili. Ekili is astral projection, astral travel. So those are some telecommunication methods that were used by our ancestors. And yeah, interesting stuff. Besides Afa chain, what other forms of divination tools do Dibias use, or other priests use for divination? So I have this very long list. I have 2 books with very long lists, and they're infinite. It's almost wherever you are able to receive the answers, and if it works, if it's accurate, right? If it's accurate, that's your method of divination, right? So Afa is undefeated. That's why it's so popular everywhere, because it works. That's why you see it in all the West African cultures, going all the way up the coast to like the Senegambia area, and then into Central Africa and so forth. That's why you see Afa spread that far. It's because it works. But I've seen people cast shells. There's wine divination where you read splatters of wine. There's string divination where you cut a bag with a string and it makes a pattern. Sorry. It's infinite. It's infinite. Some people use animals for divination, innards and things like that. It is infinite. Each person will tell you where they best receive their answers, right? Where they best receive their answers. The form of divination I tend to do, and it's rare that I do it, but usually if I have a tough decision to make, as boring as it sounds, I'll flip a coin, and that's a form as well. It's about you trusting the messenger. You understand? If I trust that coin to make a good decision, then it's a means of divination. I personally think divination should be a part of our politics in the world. I think divination should be a part of our politics in the world. Right? Period. I think divination should be a part of our politics. I think it would diffuse the polity in a lot of places, and that would allow things to kind of move more stable and more smoothly, right? Allow things to move more stable and more smooth. I think divination has to be a part of it. It just makes sense, right? It makes sense. Love the energy. Yes, the world is indeed a market. One hand eats, the other one feeds the others. And that's how the flow goes. Perfect. Peacekeeper. Perfect. You said it perfectly. Isabel, Ndewo. All right. If Igbos believe the world is a market, would capitalism be in alignment with that philosophy? We're getting interesting. Or are there better rules of engagement in Udinani economics? Igbo culture is very, very, very market driven. Is very, very business driven. Our culture is business driven and market driven. Our spirituality, our approach to spirit is business and market driven. It is existential. It is said that when Igbo were created, due to many things, they were given ahia. This is an offer in the market, meaning that if you are of Igbo, if you have Igbo ancestors and you go into a business endeavor, you are undefeatable. You are undefeatable, but you just gotta tap in. Now, that being said, I don't think capitalism is the same as business. I don't think capitalism is the same as market. Capital, and I've never seen anybody define it this way, but Westerners are horrible at defining their philosophies, but you kind of just know what they mean. That's why, they're confused. But capitalism is when money is in charge, right? It's not buying and say, capitalism is the buying and stuff. No, it's not, because they'll tell you that capitalism was invented at a point, right? It started with Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations, or maybe it started from mercantilism. So in the Western mind, capitalism starts at a point. There's a point where it starts, right? But they'll argue as to where that point starts. I'll tell you exactly when that point starts. Capitalism is when the money is in charge, is when the capital is in charge. It's not buying and selling. Capitalism is when money is in charge, that we are serving money. Money is not a tool for us to use to do things. We are in service of money, right? Now, if you look at, our current situation, right? Whoever has the money wins the election. Whoever has the money decides the policy. The money is in charge, right? The money's in charge. The government is beholden to capital, but not people. It's beholden to capital. If you want the government to get off your ass a little bit, you have to just get more capital. That's capitalism. That's not really what was going on at home, right? I wouldn't say it was communism either. That's a false dichotomy. That's the Jacob Esau curse, right? Where somebody will hypnotize you into thinking that you have two choices, and then you start battling about those two things. Meanwhile, it's just a cage. It's just a cage, right? And I can get into that, the whole Jacob Esau thing and that kind of thing later. So if anybody's interested, just go ahead and ask. But what was I going to say? But yeah. So capital is when the money is in charge. So business and market is a big part of our culture, but the human being is always in charge. The money is, it's not that the money is in charge, right? Like when you see like a traditional market, the point of the traditional market isn't necessarily to make money, right? They have systems within that traditional market that sustains the women outside of the buying and the selling. You understand? So I'll use this example. Should I tell the story? Okay, I'll tell the story, and I'll be quick too. So there's this woman that is the founder. It's this mythological, or I don't like mythological, folklore story of the woman who founded the Mmuo market in a community in Enugu. And the story was that in the beginning of time, human beings didn't know how to produce abundantly, right? So people would produce food, and then they would eat what they produce, and then they'd spend the rest of the year hungry until they can produce food again, right? Or hunt and that kind of thing. But they were beholden to scarcity and abundance. They were victims of scarcity and abundance. They were not in control of it. But there was one particular woman who was very industrious, right? I'm just going to call her Lala. Lala was very, very industrious. And she was so industrious that she can outproduce everybody in her community. So what she would do was she would produce, and then she would lay her goods on Nkwade, or no, I'm sorry, not Nkwade. She'd lay her goods out for people to come and take what they needed. So they would come and take what they needed. And then she'd produce more and bring about more, and they would take what they needed. And then after a while, people started saying, okay, let's give her something so that she continues to do this good thing for us, right? Let's give her something so that she continues to do this good thing for us. And people began to give, and she gave back, and so forth. The women in the community saw that she was being praised, and she was given all this adoration and love, and she was sustaining so many people and doing such a good thing, that they laid their blankets down on the ground, and they began doing the same thing as her. Right? So now she had a group of women who would provide goods, who would produce abundantly, and then they would give it to the people in the community. And the people in the community, to keep these women coming back, would give them something, right? Would give them something. And this continued to happen until the men said, this thing that these women are doing is wonderful. And so the men built sheds over their head so that the women can stay there longer, so that they wouldn't have to leave because of the heat. Right? And so now they had sheds, they had a group of women, they began talking to each other, and a little culture emerges. And the earth herself becomes so happy about what's going on that she speaks to the people. And she says, Lala, what you have done is wonderful, and what you women are doing is wonderful. I will bless you abundantly if you continue to do this on every Nkwo day. Right? So this is the origin of buying and selling. This is the origin of the concept of the market, right? And in this, you see that the initial impulse wasn't necessarily to get stuff. It was to give stuff. And then people give back to you in the same spirit of you giving to them. And then the thing continues and continues and continues. Capitalism is a different thing. Capitalism is when the money is in charge. Money is the boss, right? Money is the boss. When I was studying the Ekumeku resistance, I saw something That it just my head did this, right? And I'm a history nerd. I sometimes I nerd out on the history stuff, and and so I don't want to OD. So sometimes I have to give it out in little pieces and parcels. But if you let me go, I'll go. But one of the things I saw was that throughout the world's history, as people became more and more pay attention to this part, by the way, because some of you won't understand why it's important, but it's very important. As the world became more and more interconnected, the people who connected the world, the people who did the trade, became wealthier than the people in charge of the lands that they're from. This happened everywhere in the world at nearly the same time, right? So let's think about like the pirates, right? The English privateers and so forth, or slave traders, right? If slave trading is the biggest business in the world, and the queen is back in England and she's taxing poor people and lords and stuff, and she's getting her money, and you go out to Africa and you go to North America, you have the opportunity to make more money than she has. You have the opportunity to become richer than your government, right? So what ends up happening in Europe, throughout Europe, this is all the different continents take different routes. So what ends up happening in Europe is these people that now become rich from international trade hijack their governments. They hijack their governments. They hijack their governments. And they set up a system. They always set up a system that is based on voting and two sides that are not connected to them arguing, fighting each other. And we call it democracy, right? But it's really the capitalism. It's when the capital took over. Because ultimately, I'm paying both of them. They're doing the theater and so forth. The same thing started happening in Asia. And people don't understand why the Chinese government arrested Jack Ma, right? But I get it. And after I saw that, I was like, I get it. There was this sailor named Zhang He, or I can't say his name right. It's Z. It is spelt, from what I've seen, ZHANG space, I think, HE. And his big thing was he had this giant flotilla, this big army of merchant vessels, right? Massive, massive, thousands of boats, I believe. And he sailed around the Indian Ocean. He went to Africa. He went to India. He went to the Middle East. He interacted with the Swahili city-states. And he brought back giraffes. He brought back gold. He brought back so many riches from this one trip. One trip. He brought back all this stuff, right? And he gathers it from all over the world, and he sails back to China. And the emperor sees all this stuff and burns all of it to say, hey, burn all those ships. Get all this shit out of my face. Get all this out of my... And, a lot of Western, scholars, we don't understand. China could have been the economic power if they would have... It doesn't matter. They don't care. They don't care. I control 1/5 of the world. I don't need any more. I don't need any more headache. On top of that, he got all that stuff from one trip. What if this fool makes 5 trips? What am I going to tell him? Right? The reason the British Empire was built, it wasn't because England went around conquering places. It's because those English people that became very wealthy, and those Dutch people and those Portuguese people, not their governments, the companies that became wealthy started having enough money to start taking over lands to secure the sources of their money. And then they went back to their governments and contracted them to come protect. So in the British Empire, Britain is the security guard. Britain doesn't actually own the empire. It's the security guard of the empire, right? With Nigeria, it was the southern Nigeria. The actual company is the Royal Niger Company. The British government charters them, they come, hey, I need you to come shoot these, you understand? Come shoot these people, they're bothering me, right? That kind of thing. So that's capitalism. The Chinese said no, because they know that the throne or the leadership in China it's fragile. It's fragile. You're overseeing 1/5 of the world's population. If 10,000 of them get any weird idea, you have a problem. So it's fragile. I don't need any of you guys becoming so rich that it's a problem. The same thing happened in Africa. The same thing happened in Africa. There's this very famous story, right, where the Oba of Benin, for those who don't know, was this big empire in southern Nigeria, and it moved into central Nigeria a little bit. It's big ass empire, right? So the Oba is a priest. You know, whenever they say African king, unless there's Christianity or Islam involved, there's no kings in Africa. There's no queens. We don't. That's not the system there, right? Or in West Africa and the other places, I don't know. But as long as if Christianity and Islam are not involved, there's no kingship system. What the people that typically get called royals and kings and stuff, just from English translation, they're actually like closer to priests, if anything. Like they're closer to the Pope than they would be to like whoever the King of England is now. I can't remember, it's Charles, right? King Charles. And so the Oba of Benin is kind of like historically starts out as a military figure, becomes a priestly figure, and has this big empire of people and stuff that it controls. Well, the empire is being run in part by chiefs, right? His chiefs or his appointed lords and things like that. And so what they would do, or they then become involved in the slave trade. And they become involved in all this. They're connected to the rest of the world because they are the market. The Oba of Benin can't participate in business, right? So the story goes that one particular, the story goes that in the 1500s, the Oba of Benin had became angry that one of the chiefs in town, or no, several chiefs in town had roofs that were higher than his own, right? And that part of the story told me like, okay, these people are becoming richer than the Oba, and they're starting to feel richer than the Oba. So the Oba demanded that anybody with a roof higher than his own has to demolish their home or reduce the size of their roof. And so all the chiefs complied except one, right? Except one. One did not comply. And so they called him to court. They asked him why he didn't comply. He said he doesn't have to, he doesn't want to. And so they humiliated him and they destroyed his home, and he sent fleeing. The Benin people themselves, they told this story to either a Dutch or an English person that was visiting. They said that this person went 3 days to the east, which is Igbo land, right? Went 3 days to the east and returned with an army, and that the army sacked 1/3 of Benin before it was stopped and repelled, right? 1/3, one person. So what would happen if these probably slave traders, right, had, instead of complying with the Oba, had they just decided to gang up and take over? There's nothing you can do, right? So capitalism is when the capital is in charge, and the capital can become in charge by way of international trade and so forth. So while a lot of Igbo culture is market and business oriented, I would not say capitalism is a very specific thing. But there's elements of capitalism in our culture, and we don't shy away from it and so forth. We're very proud of our business acumen and comfortable with whatever the business terrain or environment is, that kind of thing, right? So that type of thing. But, when we use those terms, capitalism, communism, that kind of thing, those are false dynamics, because no Westerner is going to tell you it's when the money's in charge. It's what it is. It's when the money's in charge, and that kind of thing. I'm Igbo American. My family's from Onitsha. Udo. Igbo was my first language, but lost my ability to speak when I entered kindergarten, but I still understand it. Self-care Sisters Uni. So one of the things so I have an Igbo language class, right? www.kedu.me. We're actually starting a new session in August. So like if you can join, that'd be really cool. But one of the things that we work on is people who can hear Igbo and can't speak it anymore, because it's a mental block. It's a mental block, and a lot of it is coming from probably anxiety and not feeling. I'm not trying to diagnose you, but like a confidence thing as far as the language. So one of the things when I was putting together Kedu is I wanted to make sure Kedu was like a safe space for people to like, physical therapy, when like, you used to be able to walk, you can't walk anymore, and you need to just go to the physical therapist and be able to walk with the crutches until you can get your feet back. That is a big part of the program. So sign up, www.kedu.me, if you want to learn how to speak Igbo. A lot of what I'm talking about just makes a lot more sense if you can speak Igbo. It all just falls in place. He's probably listening, I want to say I'm going to just say your business name, Altered Roots. A good friend of mine by the name of Altered Roots reached out, and he was breaking down something to me. He saw a connection with the concept of Akonuche and then something in Akan spirituality, right? In Ghanaian spirituality, and he picked it up from knowing the language. He was a Kedu student as well, but clearly has a gift for languages, and was able to pick this up just from knowing the language. So like a lot of these things come together naturally if you know the language. And if you're interested, just sign up at Kedu. Those who have been in Kedu, if you want to tell people how it was, that'd be great. Good or bad, let's just be honest. Afa says my Mmuo Sochi is Ogungun. Oh wow. Yeah, so your Agun is connected to Ogungun. Ogungun, Arobinagun. Interconnected. Says you're an herbalist. Says that you are a dibia, right? So your Mmuo Sochi is connected to Ogungun, right? On both sides of my family. You guys have Omomo, Arobinagun, all that in your family. So Odema. I had another one where money was raining from the sky, then a bunch of mushrooms came out the ground. What is the significance of mushrooms in Igbo culture? Oh man, there's a lot. But it's the same understanding everybody has, that the mushroom is a gateway into understanding the mind of the plant, the mind of the plant world, right? Is a gateway, is an entranceway. There's a theory that hat, the cotton hat with the little ball, there's a theory that it's connected to mushroom ascendants, like an Iragon that involves mushrooms. But this is just a theory, and people like to throw theories all over the place. I tend to not to want to say things unless I've seen it in 2 places, and I've only seen that in 1 place. But at the same time, I'll talk about that later. Have you seen The Last Okoroshi? Oh no, but I want to. Do you think what's happening in the movie is relevant to us today? I haven't seen it, but I've spoken to the person who made it on Instagram, I think, just briefly, but I haven't seen it, and I don't know where I can see it. So if you know where I can see The Last Okoroshi, I would love for you to send the link. Not here. If you're on Patreon, send it on Patreon. Send an email. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm everywhere. So wherever you find me, if you can send me a link, I'd love to watch it. Sometimes it's hard for me to watch movies that have like elements of Odinani because I care so much about it. It's hard to explain, but like I care so much about it that it almost gives me anxiety to watch. Like it's almost overwhelming, right? And it's like when like, I don't know, it's almost like when like a family member is going up and doing like a big speech or something, like you get nervous for them. I don't know, I just get anxiety about those things. Like people send me things like, oh, can you check this out? And it's like, all right, but eventually I get to it, so I'll do my last Okoroshi. What are the 7 rings of Mmuo? Name them. And damn, Sage, you can't say please. What do you mean name them? 7 rings of Mmuo. I'll just be quick. The first one is a light that reflects from you, right? It's like your light that's like if you walk into a room and like somebody's mad and staring at you, that thing you're feeling, the light that's coming from them, that is the first layer. The second layer is the light that looks within or that goes back to you. It also completes the first. So you can call it a shadow. The third is something, it's Ikenga related, but I can't remember. Oh, the third is the Ipachi, that is where your Ikenga and your Omomo, it lies. In the third space, there's also more spaces in your third space. So there's more rings in your third ring, and it is everybody who is going to descend from you going forward, and everybody who you have come from, and so forth. So all of that meets in the third space. Meaning that, like, you know how they say that like a woman is born with all the eggs that she's going to produce or something like that? Well, even on a generational level, that thing is already embedded in your spirit. The amount of people that you're going to produce and the amount of people that you produce is going to produce is already embedded in your Mmuo, in your spirit. All of that is in the third space, the Ipachi, the procreative space, where your Omomo and your Ikenga sit. The fourth space is like a completion layer. It is a completion layer, and it is capable of receiving a type of wisdom known as Ako. It is the seat of Ako. Some people will say Aro. Ako is wisdom from the earth. It is the flow of sentience that comes from earth, that comes from each other as well. Me talking to you, this is Ako. This is Ako, right? So it is, some people will call it intellect, right? But your fourth space, you are complete. After the fourth space, the pattern repeats itself if you pay attention. So the fifth space is a light that shines out from you, but it's sentient and it's aware, right? So this is your manifesting light. That's why number 5 is the Omomo light and is the number of Ogungun, right? That feminine manifesting energy, right? Where you can say, I'll be rich by August. I'll be rich by August. I'll be rich by August. That's that fifth light you're sending. It's aware, it's intention, it's sentient, but it's shining out from you and it's going to act on behalf of you, right? So that's the fifth layer of Mmuo, the fifth layer of your spirit. Layer number 6, again, is a shadow that looks back into you, but it's aware. The Dibia that taught me this says that this is also the space where twinning happens, where if you're a twin, this is what is the separation happens between the two people. So this is a shadow that looks back at you, but it's aware, it's sentient, and so forth. So it speaks to you, right? It looks at you, it speaks to you, it informs you, but you can also speak to it and inform it, and so forth, right? My own theory, when a lot of people talk about doing shadow work and so forth, I think they're talking about the second layer and the 6th layer. Then the layer 7, right, is a space for uche, right, which is just like Ako, it's wisdom from above and beyond, right? Wisdom from the Father, your masculine sentience, your masculine awareness. This is why the numbers, or let me not say this is why, I have noticed that throughout the world, the number 7 is the number of the masculine deity, the masculine God is 7, right? That type of thing. Now, some people say there's an 8th layer, right? Some people say it's a 7th. They're both correct. The 8th layer is that uche, landing. So let's say you have this 3rd space, right, which is, the Ikenga magnified, and then uche, wisdom from beyond, will land, and that then becomes, some people will call that wisdom an 8th space. So that particular wisdom from beyond, like if you're of the Abrahamic faith, like if you have a history with the Abrahamic religions, you'll know about these prophets receiving these messages and so on and so forth. All of that is uche. Downloads, some people use the term downloads, right? Some people will use the term intuition. Uche is a wisdom that is not intellect, that is different from intellect. So those are the different layers of Mmuo. Insibiri, Mamdombe. Hey, you got coming with these terms. Moi, Ngwengo, Basava. I'm gonna go to the end of this sentence. All these wonderful African scripts should be already official scripts in their respective countries. Yes and no. There's a lot of politics. So, the African countries are fake. They're artificial. And so because they're artificial, the idea of taking an Igbo script and imposing on everybody, you have to do that by force. Nobody's going to accept it. They're going to become that kind of thing. The one they'll accept is the one that was already imposed on them, which was English or French or whatever, but anything more, it's annoying, right? And so forth. So now I have the very unpopular opinion that I'm kind of indifferent when it comes to that. I think my audience is a lot more interested in Insibidi and stuff than I am. But I'm pretty indifferent. I don't think it makes a difference, It'd be interesting. It'd be nice and interesting, but I thought that was a pretty bird, but I think it's fireworks. So the place I am, we get these really nice black birds with these orange things around their neck. It almost looks like a scarf, an orange scarf around its neck. But if that's not what you saw, which is like most of the birds here, then it's definitely fireworks. I'm in a part where... I'm a part of the country where my Caucasian brethren definitely get to show how little of the law they have to follow. So they shoot fireworks year round, But yeah, we're here. Adumma. Then don't worry. I'm working hard on getting out of here too. So, Adumma. Soul says, "Help me, please." Okay, you have to be more specific. There was a significance of being born. What's the significance of the Mmuo market day? Mmuo. Okay, so what sits in Mmuo? Mmuo is the day of life. So life itself comes from the Mmuo market day. Mmuo market day is the day of justice, the day of calling, the day of cause, the day of inspiration, the day of wind. Mmuo is related to wind, into air, right? To take in air and so forth. Some will say Mmuo is masculine. Some will say Mmuo and Eke are both masculine. I understand what they mean by that, but in every story I've ever heard, they appear as for women, and markets women, days women, that kind of thing. So I don't believe that, but I know what they mean, because you can live in water, you can live on earth, but you can't live in light, you can't live in wind. If that makes sense. They're non-physical. So Mmuo people have a strong sense of justice, a strong sense of doing the right thing, like fighting for justice, righting injustices, balancing things, like making, like resolving conflict resolution, like solving problems, that type of thing. They're strong when they're in that space. They're empowered by a cause. They're empowered by a cause. If you get an Mmuo person in your organization and they believe in the cause, that person's going to go harder than everybody, to the point where it may even offend and bother other people around them, right? But that person's going to go very hard in what they believe in. When they're in relationships, they believe in it, they go hard, they commit. Things like honesty, truth, justice, balance, like I said, air, wind, and just think of the things that are associated with the nature of wind: transparency, that kind of thing, soothing, and so forth. So those are Mmuo people. If Mmuo people want to be negative, they can also be trolls, right? They like to have an effect. So they like to have an effect, right? Think about wind, right? You open the window, the wind blows everything down, right? That's their nature, right? It is their nature. So just, if you want to understand the days, think about how water is. Think about how you feel when you're around water. That is the nature of Uriye. Think about how you feel when you're touching earth or you're putting your feet in sand. That is the nature of Afo. Think of how light makes you feel, right? Light doesn't come on. Light has a strong presence. If the light is in the room is lit. There's no such thing as the light's over here, but we're over here, right? The light is, that kind of thing. Here I am. So if you're in the sun, if you're in the light, if you're in the dark, if you're by the moon, all of that is Eke. That's a good way of understanding those natures. So if you're tied to that element, then that is your thing. Significance of Mmuo. I meant to say that. That's a question. What does it mean when you get lots of people saying I look familiar, or they think I look like someone else? I don't know. It just means you look familiar. Uchechi, I'm not gonna lie, man. You kind of look like that dude that does the skits where the camera is really close to his face and he's got the glasses, the light skinned guy. I think he's bigger than you, but you kind of look like him. I don't know, but I don't know. You have a memorable face. So if I see you and I see somebody that kind of looks like you, the connection is gonna happen. Some people's faces aren't that memorable, so I don't know. I'm Guyanese born, he said, and I live in America. My mother is a powerful psychic who says she comes from God. I believe her. Okay. Hi, Derek. A bit of a broad question, but can you talk about how sound is used for healing in Igbo culture? Okay, so I can try to give you, like I said, that's a huge question. So, but one of the things, we just talked about this in the traditional medicine class with Kedu, and it is like the language of ritual, how ritual is done, and so forth. So sound, right, is excellent at working with spirit. That's why we speak That's why words have power, right? That's why words have power. Sound is an ingredient or one of the things you can work with when you're incorporating ritual. I can go really far into this idea of sound because then you talk about frequencies and things like that. I have personally made observations that connect frequency, like the different abara and frequencies and things like that, right? And so forth. So there's a lot that can be said. But sound is a huge part of things. Certain spirits are animated by certain sounds. Certain things are repelled. Certain things are invited by certain sounds. For example, now agon, or let me say arobinagon, is strengthened by sounds made by instruments that aren't non-metallic instruments. That non-metallic instruments, and so like percussions that are like sticks or wood and that kind of thing. If you think of like Nyabingi music with some Rastas will do Nyabingi music, that is 100% Arobinago music. That's exactly what it is, chanting and so forth. Sound is a means of getting a handle on spirit. Sound invites, it can repel, it can invite, it can make a thing move in this way or that way. There's a particular thing about, like, for example, now the sound of bells, right? The sound of bells. Isn't it interesting to you that whenever a boxing or a wrestling or a UFC match starts, there's a bell, ding ding, and whenever they're about to open up church, they ring a bell. At Christmas, they're ringing bells, jing 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 jing, that kind of thing. And then at the end, there's a bell that's rung as well, and so forth. There's something to that, and I can go further into that. I think the question. Let me do this. I think I actually have to do a video on like sacred music, right? Sacred music, or the role music plays in the Igbo spirituality. And I think I can elaborate on it there. So like, if you're not subbed, subscribe, and then keep an eye out for that one. But that's a huge topic. That's a huge topic. Hi Derek, I'm a bit of a broad question, but can you talk about the sound? Okay, I just answered that. Ever since I was a child, I was a spirit. Ever since I was a child, I was a child spirit, and demon have been attracted to me. Okay. I'm not gonna sit here on YouTube Live and tell you I know exactly what that means and exactly what that is. That seems pretty heavy. We do have a DBO we work with, so if you're interested in talking to him, just message me and I can connect you to him. But that's pretty heavy, and I'm not gonna like sit here and try to diagnose you on YouTube Live. That would be irresponsible. Hey, crazy eye. Okay. Would you say Igbo people have a particular affinity for technology and mechanics? Yeah, absolutely. That's known as uzununka. I can't talk. Uzunanka. Uzunanka is one of those. When anything about Igbo thought, it always comes in dualities, right? So there's going to be Akonuche or Fonogu. Chineke, which should actually be Ekenachi, but that's a whole different thing. Alanigwe, Ntanimo. You'll see these dualities, and they are the principles that organize and govern existence. And one of the principles is Uzu, U-Z-U, Na, N-A, and then Nka, N-K-A. Uzunanka is, let's call it craft and technology, right? Crafts and technology, art and technology. Uzu can be technology. I think Uzu is best as technology. Nka is like art. Some people will say science and technology. It is the union of the human hand and the human will to make of the world what it needs the world to be, right? Uzunanka. So historically, like literally historically, Igbo people made their money from human capital. And I'm from human capital. So what you know, your skills, right? The reason is because Igbo land is very densely populated, right? So it's very rare for somebody to have so much land that they have like a giant plantation and they can just live as a farmer. You understand? But it's densely populated, and it's also has this structure where the hierarchy is not hereditary, right? It's not hereditary. Everybody has to eventually prove themselves in life in order to have some type of status. But if your father has status and you don't have status, it's even worse for you. It's not automatically inherited. It's like your dad was this and you were this. Like, what's your problem, right? So what tends to happen is there's like it's very competitive. Like it's very competitive for like and stuff. So what ends up, and I keep saying this over and over, what ends up happening is people tend to find that the fastest way to advance in life is to learn something useful, go somewhere else where that thing is not understood or done, and then go do that thing. So historically, that's been, and it's till this day, throughout West Africa, you always get these communities where there's just this random group of Igbo people that live there, and every African jokes about it. Like it's just like they say that if you go somewhere you don't see an Igbo man, run. They say that when we get to Mars, we'll be greeted by an Igbo man. They say a lot of funny shit, but what tends to happen is when you go to these places, you're gonna go with a skill. So smithing, surgery, afa, to do afa, setting up arushi. Like Aro people used to set up arushi for people. Making weapons. Nkwere people used to make guns before, like the Europeans came, brought the Dane guns, and then they started making their own at Nkwere, Oka, somewhere in Abia States. Those three places were, and that I know about. I'm sure there's more. Okigwe and another place, and then they making guns, that kind of thing. So they've learned that it's best to learn some kind of skill and use that to make money. So yeah, that's always been a big part of the culture and science, technology, mechanics, things like that. Yeah, big time, big time. A lot of the inventions during the Biafra War will blow your mind. Like they're incredible. It'll blow your mind. Like, because we were blockaded from the whole world, so we had to make everything on our own. So people were making sonar, radar. They were trying to make a tank, and they ended up making an ATV, armored vehicle, an ATV looking kind of thing. They used to make these cannons called Obunigwe. One of the most interesting Obunigwe was it shoots up in the air and its payload is sand, right? Its payload is sand. And so you'd get these Egyptian and, who were they? Egyptian planes that would come in and start bombing villages during the Biafra War. But what they would do is they would shoot these payloads in the sky and it would explode and there'd be a cloud of sand in the sky. And you'd get so much sand in the sky that when the plane came through, its engine sucked up the sand and collapsed right there, right? So that's the Obunigwe. I'm really fascinated by like low-tech military technology, by the way. So the engine would absorb the sand and then like they would sink, and they didn't know why the planes kept crashing with no contact, right? Until like later in the war, they figured out what was going on. So a lot of interesting stuff there. Also one of my interests, like I said, so I can go on and on, but I'm going to chill because I don't think that's what people are here to hear about. Kashinda, Ndewo, hey, follow-up question. Is there a type of music, Dibia? Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Dibia gets categorized as like a healer, and it is, but a Dibia is a Di-Abia, a master of Abia, or a master of Uche. So person who's able to receive from beyond, right? Who's able to receive from beyond, like let's say a message is sent from beyond humanity to humanity. It's going to hit a group of people first. The people it hits first are the Dibias. So sometimes that gift or that message is going to come in the form of music. Sometimes it's going to come in the form of making all these interesting gadgets and stuff I was talking about and so forth. I know a person who is a very, very, very skilled doctor, and he's acclaimed all over the country for his skills as a doctor. And come to find out, he is a descendant of Dibias, right? He's a descendant of Dibias and so forth, but he just decided he's going to move to America and be a Oyibo Dibia. So yeah, Dibia doesn't just mean healer. There's music. Sometimes it comes in the form of music. It comes in the form of speech, right? Some people, just different things. So there's music Dibias, there's sound Dibias, that kind of thing. Absolutely. It's almost more about how you approach your music, if that makes sense. How do you approach your music? Do you approach it as a Dibia? then you're a dibia ego, right? Music healing is a big part of a lot of African cultures, by the way. Huge part of a lot of African cultures. In fact, I was saying earlier, when you heal a person, you heal the body and you heal the spirit. And a lot of music is almost like the Tylenol of spiritual healing. All right, it's has a high utility, can be used in a lot of different ways. Sir, I've attached my resume to your kind. Sir, I have attached my resume for your kind consideration for the same to the premier. This one sounds like the damn royal envoy. Not sure what the future is like, but I have been working with a couple of different companies. You might have the wrong chat, but if you don't, then send me an email. I don't know what I'm gonna do with your resume though. Can you teach Igbo? Can you teach Igbo? If you can teach Igbo, then yeah, send me your resume. We'll talk, you know. I was gonna talk about sending a damn resume. You better get on your boss's live stream, man. In the wrong damn place. Air spirits gravitate towards me. Tell me why. Soul, you got a lot of stuff going on. I can't tell you really personal stuff, right? Because I haven't sat down with you. I haven't talked to you. I don't know you like that. I just can't do that, you know. But like I said, there are people you can talk to. So just message me whenever you have time, and I'll connect you to the right person. What are your thoughts on orphans spiritually who turn out to have a successful life? That's just what it is. There's an ilu that says destiny can be delayed, but it can't be changed, right? What will come will come. It doesn't matter what the world throws on your table, right? So if you're orphaned and you become successful, if you are not orphaned and you become successful, your chi said you will be successful, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Ademma. My husband is Igbo and I've lived in Nigeria. Cool. We've made sacrifices to Adubeya, and Ajana in Nigeria and America. I'm very attracted to the land. I love trees, plants, animals, any in Kemi. It doesn't sound like I need to advise you. You're doing your thing. Continue doing what you're doing. Jashike, be strong. You know what Jashike means, right? I know you do, right? Jashike. If you have specific questions on like maybe specific things that pop up, you can ask here or message me. But I'm not seeing anything in your message that implies you need advice. I would say just continue doing what you're doing. Thanks for sharing your story. Odemma. I've never heard of Adubeya, so I would be interested in knowing what that is in like general, because different places have different names for things. Like in my place, we don't say Nemiri, we say Njaba, because that's the name of our river. Some people will say Ushimiri, some people will say Idemili, some people will say Imo, some people will say, you know, that kind of thing. So Adubeya, that sounds, but from the name, Adubeya. That sounds like Udo. Like it sounds like maybe it's the husband of Amad or of Ajana, which is like Amadioha or whatever they call Amadioha in their place. It sounds like Udo or Amadioha. So did I go backwards? Somebody asked what the 7 rings of Mmuo was, and I think I already answered that. I've been trying my hardest, but now I'm working on my thoughts. That's good. Every time I call on the wind, clouds, and haggers, it was deadly silent. How do you feel about cards and cartomancy? Is there a version in Igbo culture? No, there's not. To my knowledge, there's no card divination that's like well known and well understood. If somebody's doing card divination, it's like it would probably be from their own inquiry and them figuring out how to do it and so forth, more so than something that's been in the culture for a long time. A big part of that is, you know, we didn't print paper and stuff like that. We didn't have paper as a culture, so I don't know if we can use cards, but you can divine with leaves. There's a divination with leaves. Again, it's not about the method, it's about the accuracy of the method. So it's not like cards don't work, shells work. Shells don't work, coins work. Coins don't work. For me, cards might work, and for you, it may not, you know? So wherever you're receiving accurate answers, if you need that second advisor, divination is a second advisor. Divination in Igbo culture is only as valuable as it is correct. Is only as valuable as it is correct. So if the cards are correct, they're giving you the answers you need and so forth, then that's good. That's awesome. Odemma. Man, usually it's like little moths, but today they got some thick fellas flying around here. The questions are still in place. Person with the, I don't know, it looks like an Asian language, maybe South Asian language name. Your questions are not structured like questions, they're like statements. So maybe English is not your first language, I understand that, but you have to structure it like a sentence. So I'd go like a translating app and translate the question. You would ask me about like a resume. I told you that I can't do anything about your resume. I think you're messaging the wrong person, but if you teach Igbo, send me your resume, right? Or if you're a lawyer practicing in Nigeria, I am still looking for lawyers practicing in Nigeria. By the way, I'm keeping you guys updated. So I wanted to start a fund, a legal defense fund for practitioners at home because they are victim to literal physical violence and defamation. A lot of shrines, Christians can just wake up and just go destroy shrines. That's just what makes their Jesus work or whatever. So they'll go destroy people's shrines, they'll go destroy altars. A lot of them are stealing like offal from people's families and selling it to the Catholic Church, who then sells it to the Europeans, who then sells it on the Vatican website. A lot of them are doing a lot of crazy shit. So we're setting up a legal defense fund to start suing the shit out of people who mess with us, right? And so far, some of you guys are like, all right, I'm in. I love that. Like, I love that, right? I'm keeping you guys updated. I'm going to keep everybody updated. In fact, I'll send something to everybody on Monday who is in. So people have said, I'm in. I'm ready to support. And we've already raised enough to sustain for like a good few months, right? And I had a young lady reach out who is a lawyer, or a barista, as they call them at home. And so I'm going to be talking to her on Monday, and you know, that kind of thing. But this is no joke. I like to present things when they're ready to be presented, and I'm just on go right now with this. But we're almost there at the ready to present phase. I still haven't thought of a name for it. I just know that we're about to sue this shit. We're about to wow out, you know. Like I said, my theory is we get 5 strong cases. People will be more hesitant to destroy and attack things that they identify as African and therefore evil. In the Christian mind. My dad told me that Onitsha people migrated from Benin Kingdom. Is that the case? Would we still be considered original Igbo? I'm Igbo regardless. So all that migrate. I'm not to disrespect your dad, because everybody on earth except me does this. Migration is not origin, okay? 1. 2, Eze Chema, the person who migrated from Benin to Onitsha, is named Eze. Not a Bini word. Chema. Right? Eze Chema. Every story about Eze Chema has been, if you're just coming into the live, there's a story I told earlier. I was hinting to Onitsha people. I was hinting to Onitsha people. Because if you go to Google Earth, right, the story is that there was this chief. He had a taller roof than the Oba. The Oba said, destroy it. He said no. They chased him out. He came back with an army. He walked 3 days from Benin City, right? And then came back with an army. You can't walk 3 days from Benin City and come back with an army if you're not from that place. I can't show up in Taiwan and start telling everybody, hey, we got to go fight the Benin people. We got to go fight. And then they get up and enough of them to actually take on the strongest empire in the region, right? So obviously he's from there. His name is Eze and Shema, right? There are many Igbo people that lived in the Benin Empire. and some of them returned home after Benin started to collapse. And a lot of people will say that, oh, they're from Benin, they're Benin people. No, it's an Igbo person that lives in Benin. It's just like now, I live in America. If my son decides to live in Nigeria, it doesn't mean that he's a Native American that came back. You understand? It's an Igbo person that went and came. The man's name is Eze Chema. Eze Chema. So no, Onitsha people are not from Benin, but their founder, the person who is said to be their founder, lived in the Benin Empire, and he is more than likely Aro. He is more than likely Aro or Osu. You understand? In fact, probably just Osu, right? And I'm not saying this derogatory, right? He's probably that kind of thing. He's a ritual expert. He is a ritual expert that left Benin and came to settle in Onitsha permanently, right? Onitsha, but Onitsha people are from the other side of the river. They're from the other side of the river and they migrated over, right? That kind of thing. That's where the term Onitsha Ado comes from. Ado, Idu, Edo are all the same word, right? So Igbo culture is broken up into different categories. I am Oru. Some people are Isu. There's Isu people in Anyoma as well, right? Some people are Idu. Some people are Umueri, you know. Some people are maybe Mbise. I don't know what they call Mbise people. There are just these different categories within Igbo culture, and then after that category, there's the villages within it, right? But if you go to those categories, they tend to have the same cultural patterns. So I'm Oru. Any Oru village I go to, I'm going to see Okorosha. I'm going to see Mao, like the original Mao, not because everything gets called Mao now, but the Mao is the specific name of one masquerade. So I'm going to see Nuku Mao, the one they call Nuku Mao. I'm going to see Okorosha. I'm going to see Nuku Mao. A very high chance I'll see Owu, right? Though that's more of an Isu thing, but that's a whole different thing, right? So I'm going to see Owu, Okorosha, Mao. If you go to an Idu place, you're going to see a lot of things that look very Benin, right? They're going to look very Beninish, right? You're going to see whoever the royal is going to be very, very important in the culture, right? Compared to other Igbo royals and so forth. And yeah, so, but no, Onitsha people are not from Benin, but the person who they say is the founder of Onitsha is a man who was a chief in Benin, but his name was Eze Chema, which is an Igbo, a brazenly Igbo name. Odemma. Do you think I'm under the protection of weather spirits? Please help me. Hey, soul, I already told you. I'll just mess with you. The things you're talking about are way too personal for you to think a guy on live is going to answer for you, right? They're way too personal for a guy on live to answer it for you in a string of questions that he's answering. Okay? You're talking about your childhood. You're talking about things that are you're specifically dealing with. I'm honored that you trust me that much, but I don't know you. So if you want to sit down and talk, we can sit down and talk. Odemma. Okay. I feel like I'm... Sage Whitting really likes the 7 Rings of Mmuo video. Odemma. In a previous video, you mentioned something about common ancestor of Igbo and Yoruba people. Were you able to speak on that? Yeah, so it's pretty obvious to me, based on every imaginable piece of evidence, that almost everybody in southern Nigeria, the exceptions I hold are Ijaw and Ogoni, but almost everybody in southern Nigeria comes from a common stock or a common ancestor, and into the middle belt as well. And I think the common ancestor is just Igbo people. You know. The common ancestor is just Igbo people. They're not going to want to hear that shit, but it's the truth. Like, there's a lot of egos in Africa, you know? So they're not going to want to hear it. But the common ancestor is just Igbo. All those people are different Igbo people that left at different times in history and so forth, right? I have a lot of evidence towards it. I think the Oni of Ife, one of them had hinted at it, but he kind of left it alone. OD about history, please. The history wing of the village, which is our community, the history wing of the village, we are a minority. So we have to be mindful of everybody else's tastes and what people want to hear me go off about. But anything historical, I can go off. I can go off. So yeah. I always try to make sure history is a part of the videos as well. So anything historical you want to ask me. So as you can tell, I'll light up, right? Patterns in history inform the present, reveal possibilities of the future. I'm a history nerd too. Yeah. No, the history is the blueprint. History is the blueprint. All right. You know, when you buy, like maybe say you get an apartment and they show you the little blueprint. The room is over here. This is the history is the blueprint. And once you see the history, you start figuring out things out. Sage Whitting. I beg, stop with the spam. Yeah, Sage Whiting, I already answered the question, but you're obviously going through something. I would say this. I'm okay with spam because it increases my engagement. And when my engagement is increased, it recommends it to more people. So you can, if you're like trying to troll, I would troll in a way that's funny. But if you're not trying to troll, I'm cool with you asking the question over and over. I have answered it though, so you can watch the replay. We need you in the Biafra struggle. I'm with you now. I'm with you. I'm fully with you. I am fully with you. Any capacity I can serve, somebody can reach out and let me know. Because of the way I talk, like I have an American accent. Whenever I get into those spaces, they look at me like this. And the assumption is I don't know what I'm talking about because like who told this guy all this shit? So I'm with you. Even here in America, Black Americans think I'm the police. Yeah, everybody, all oppressed people in the world think I'm the police because of the way I sound. So I'm now ready to just wait to be called, and if I'm called, I can help in any capacity imaginable. I have contributed more than you may think, right? I have contributed more than you may. Thank you for that, King Kenny. But yeah, oppressed people tend to think I'm the police. Mycelium mushrooms are gold. Yeah, I'm fascinated by mycelium networks. I will send you a link. Okay, thank you, King Kenny. Thank you. I appreciate you. Can you speak? But yeah, about the Biafra thing, I don't know if Ikonso is my neighbor. Ikonso is my brother. Ikonso is my brother. So, R.I.P. to him. Can you speak on the Jacob and Esau? Yeah. Jacob and Esau. So I was talking on. I kind of just go on TikTok and just rant about random stuff. So my TikTok is very all over the place. But I just wanted one of my social medias to be a place where I can just go say whatever, right? That kind of thing. Because if I start saying whatever on YouTube, you're like, fuck, I didn't come here for this bullshit, that kind of thing. So, but I was talking about this concept of Kayfabe theater, right? So, Kayfabe theater, you're going to hear most about Kayfabe theater from wrestling, like WWF and that kind of thing. But it's this like American art form. It's a very American art form, and it's basically theater with no fourth wall, meaning that whatever's going on stage, the assumption is that it's real and it's happening in the same world as the audience, right? And so this is based off of wrestling, WWF, all them different ones, WCW, AEW, TNA, all them. They're based on they're performing a thing called kayfabe theater. And kayfabe theater is based off of the story of Jacob and Esau, especially when it comes to wrestling, and especially when it comes to how America plays with people's minds, which you have to play with people's minds to run this big giant thing, And so how it relates to Jacob and Esau is that in kayfabe theater, there are two characters. There's the face, the baby face, right? The name baby face comes from the fact that Esau's father was able to identify Esau by his face, right? So Esau is the baby face. Jacob is the heel. The story was that Jacob was wrestling God. In some versions, it was changed to an angel, but I believe earlier versions it's God. Not a Christian theologian or Jewish theologian, so whoever knows the actual one, let me know. But it's either God or an angel. Jacob was wrestling with them, and they touched his heel and made his heel a weak point. So the Jacob character in the Kayfabe theater is known as the heel, right? So what would happen back in the day in America was the circus would travel all over the country, and the circus would have a strongman act. And the strongman would show you his strength. He would lift heavy things. He would do this. He would do that. They would often imply that the strongman was a foreigner, right? You've seen like the big mustache. If you look at like cartoons when they try to depict them, they hint at them being Turkish, right? Sometimes they'll hint at them being Turkish. In wrestling, they call this the foreign menace. So the strongman. Okay, the sprinklers just came on. I might get hit. I might get hit. I might get hit. I might get hit. Yo! Yo! All right. The sprinklers are on and they're not discriminating. Hold on. I have to move my setup, guys. Hold on. The fuck? All right, so I was talking about kayfabe theater. So the strong man, often implied to be foreign, would go, he'd lift these heavy weights, and then, I don't know why, but this is like disorienting now, like the way it's looking. Okay, so the strong man would go in kayfabe theater and lift these heavy weights and show you how strong and powerful they were. And then they'd go, it's from the audience to come and challenge me, right? And so a local would come and they would break this guy down, they would humiliate him, they would beat the person in a match, right? Sometimes they would, if the person, like the person in the audience, if the person in the audience, that's called heat. That's called getting heat, right? Is how you make money. I'll explain. So the audience is pissed off. Now I'm in Columbus, Ohio, and then after a year I'm in Cincinnati. Now it's time for the rematch. The audience remembers that I off. The audience is angry, so I'm doing the strongman stuff. Another person comes, I defeat them. In fact, I start insulting the audience, right? Yeah, you're a bunch of cowards. You know, Cleveland's got nothing on me. You know, this and this and that. NWO rules, you know, wolf pack for life. Boo, boo, boo. They start booing. And so I beat the person again, and I cheat. I cheat. That's why wrestling becomes so outlandish with the chairs and all that stuff. I cheat because in the story, Jacob is a cheater. Jacob stole Esau's mandate by deceiving the father who is blind, the referee. This is why wrestling, in professional wrestling, the refs behave like they can't. Oh, he had a chair, I didn't see it. You know, that kind of thing. Oh, he sprayed. I saw that fool Kurt Angle shoot somebody with a bear tranquilizer. You know, and the officials, nobody can see it because they're the father. That's the father. That's Jacob's father. So this person is cheating and pissing everybody off. That pissing off is called heat. Heat is the desire to have something happen. The thing that they want to happen is somebody has to beat that guy and humble him, right? And he's bragging, they used to have one called Gorgeous George, because, you know, it was a real working class thing, so he'd have this long blonde hair, a robe, you'd have to lay out a carpet for him, he'd walk on the carpet, and like, you know, poor white people, they don't like that shit, and so boo, you know? So you come back and all of a sudden somebody from the audience comes again. This is the third time, right? All kayfabe theater. And they beat you. Now remember, everybody in the audience is in on the act. I don't think I said this. They're all working with each other. It's coordinated, it's theater. They beat you. The audience goes insane, right? So they built up that heat and they spent it on this guy. And the audience goes insane for the babyface, Esau. Esau has finally won his mandate back from Jacob the thief. Esau has won his mandate back from Jacob the thief. He's won the pride. He's won the belt back from Jacob the thief. And he goes around town. He has matches that are fixed. He wins. They make money. They make money. The Esau comes back again. They have rematches and so on and so forth. So all of this stuff is based off the story of Jacob and Esau, and we see it in professional wrestling. We also see it in almost everything created by the American imagination, especially if it comes to crowd control, right? So think about politics in America, right? Think about politics in America. Think about our foreign policy. The war on terror, the terrorists, the terrorists, the terrorists. We gotta set up these bases, the terrorists, right? Like we could leave North Korea tomorrow, nothing will happen, you understand? But if everybody around North Korea is afraid of North, you're gonna call the stay there and protect them and make sure nothing crazy or bad happens. And as North Korea seems to be less and less of a threat, we turn up the China noise, right? And that kind of thing. So all those are heels. And we're Hulk Hogan. We're going and, keeping the peace or fighting the menace and that kind of thing. That's why the American understanding of the world is there's a lot of like for us, against us, enemy, friend, People like sometimes people ask me questions, they'll be like, so what do you think about this? And they're just waiting to hear, hey, dude, I'm on your side. It's cool, right? Because it's like, is this my enemy or is this my friend, right? Is this nigga blood or crip, right? That kind of thing. So it's interesting stuff. But yeah, that's how Jacob and Esau plays out. But it's a control thing. It's a control thing. If you lock somebody into that Jacob Esau spell, that Jacob Esau story, then you create a little world for them to play in. You create a little world for them to play in, and you can manipulate their feelings about reality. So it's beneficial. Every company has like do you like Pepsi or do you like Coke? It's like they're working. And it's not like they're all like, it's not like a conspiracy. It's just that like, if we create a rivalry, people will buy this thing, period. So let's just create the rivalry. Like, come on. If we have this sold as a rival situation, people are not going to look beyond and start talking about, I want to drink Wahoo or something else, right? They're going to say, I'm going to pick one or the other. That kind of thing. Oh, Android or iPhone? Are you Android or iPhone? Oh, well, my identity matches the iPhone identity, so boom, I'm iPhone. This one's Android. Oh, woo, 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 woo. It's just, they get social media, right? All the culture wars, all that is social media engagement, right? It's all social media engagement. So, like, I asked a question on TikTok, I go, what is something your timeline is showing you that you're not interested in? Everybody just like, if you look at their demographic, it's whatever would piss them off, right? So like the white guys would be like, black people invented everything. Me, I'm an African. All I see is, we're not Africans. We hate the Africans. I'm a Chippewa. I'm a Native American. That's I just can't stop seeing. It's just dun, 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 dun. The black Americans are seeing, the UK people are saying we have no culture. This one's saying, I'm just like, isn't this a 50-50 dates? 50-50 dates. We don't like broke men. Everybody's going to get a percentage of their feed as a percentage of things that they don't like on their feed, which causes them to say, I got to take up the fight. I got to respond to this shit. Engagement. So that's all it is, That's Jacob and Esau. What plants and animals would you associate with Eke? I don't know. I think you've hit the limit of my knowledge on that. But I don't know. I've never thought about figuring it out, so I can look into it, and one day it's either going to come out or maybe you can ask me on a later date and I'll know. But as of right now, I don't know about plants and animals. The only one I know is that the falcon, the hawk, the eagle, all of those birds of prey are associated with Mmuo. Are associated with Mmuo. But I wouldn't be surprised if the eagle and them are also associated with Eke. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if the crocodile is associated with Eke. The reason I say I wouldn't be surprised if the crocodile is associated with Eke is because if you go to Nechuku or Eke shrines, it is a very common theme to have the sacrifice eaten by crocodiles. If the crocodiles of that river receive your offering, then it's been received by Eke. They are her animal representative, her mouthpiece in the animal form. So my evidence says crocodile or alligator, whichever one. But I'd have to confirm that because that's just me piecing things together rather than me knowing. I can tell you that the python is associated with Orie. The python is associated with Uri. This is why anytime you go to a place where the primary arushi is the water, it is culturally taboo to kill pythons, specifically the river python, the river python. But yeah, I'd have to look into it a little bit more, and so forth. Okay, so Mudo says, Snow, that is a great claim. Why do you need help anyways? Yeah, Snow, chill out, bro. Bro, chill the fuck out. What are you doing, man? Goddamn. It's all love. What's Yoruba spirituality to Odinani? What is Ifa in comparison to Yoruba or Odinani? What are other origin? Hold on. What are their origin? Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm not. I think these sprinklers are putting me in a weird place. All right. So, what are their origin, as in the place and people the spirituality came from? You want to ignite? You want to ignite a brewing ethnic war in Nigeria, don't you? It's a lot of egos in Nigeria, you know. But I think it's the same thing. I think Ifa Odinani, they're the same thing. It's just if you understand the way Odinani works, right? My Odinani is not going to be the same as your Odinani. Your Odinani is going to be informed by your person, your ancestors, your history, and the land that you're on, right? And the land that you're on. So if you look at like Native Americans, right? The ones that lived in what we're now calling New York had a very different lifestyle. Whoa, whoa, whoa. The ones yo, I'm ducking sprinklers right now, yo. So the ones in New York had a very different lifestyle than the ones in the plains, had a different lifestyle than the ones in the Arctic and the cold, like the Inuit and so forth. They all had these different lifestyles, and that is what Odinani is. Odinani is in God, like the way it is on the land, right? Observation, truth, seeing reality, and that kind of thing. And then on top of Odinani, you create what is known as Omenala or Omenani, if I want to match the dialects. Omenala is what we now call culture, okay? So the general philosophy, as far as Odinani, between the different groups in the Kwa-speaking parts of Africa, mainly, you know, the place where they like got enslaved people, the general philosophy is almost one-to-one the exact same thing. But how they act based on that philosophy will differ based on what the land informs them, or how their history informs them, or how their culture informs them. So earlier I said that Igbo culture is very market-driven, very business-oriented, very commercial. Commercial is the word. It's a very commercial culture, right? So, and the Yoruba have the concept of the Ori, which is similar to the Chi. You understand? But because of what the culture of Igbo people kind of lends them to, the Chi becomes super important, right? I don't know, maybe in some parts of Yoruba, the Ori is really important, but I feel that from what I've been presented, the Orisha play a bigger role, I think, right? I think. I'm not sure. Somebody can correct me. The Orisha play a bigger role than the Ori, but in the Igbo context, the Arushi, which is, or really Abara, but let's say Orisha Arushi, see that kind of thing. The Abara, right, the gods, the deities, they primarily affect the communal situation. So like if you and I have a dispute, now we can go to the Arushi. But I mean, after we go to like elders and things like that, if you and I have a dispute, we can go to the Arushi. If there's a general problem of crop failure, we go to the Arushi, right? But you're not gonna get too much. Oh, you're the son of like Amadioha, you're the daughter of this. You're not gonna get too much of that in Igbo culture. This because just our. But we understand what that means when they say that. You understand? So it is the exact same. It's almost like the exact same app, right? There's an app, and one person is using it for one thing, another person is using it for another thing. The things they use it for are not that different, right? But it manifests the understanding in both ways. But at the core, it's the same thing, right? I'm not going to say one comes from the other, because also you have to understand that we're not talking about beliefs in either system. We're not talking about beliefs. We're talking about observation. You have no obligation. There's no obligation to the idea of faith. Like, you don't have to, like, okay, I don't believe in Amadioha. There's no, you don't believe in Amadioha. I don't believe in Chuku. There's no, you don't believe in Chuku, but we must believe. There's no such a thing, right? There's no such a thing. You understand? Like, that's kind of like an Abrahamic thing. So it's not a belief system. Like I said earlier, Ogungun in Okija is probably, in my area at least, the most popular arushi to date right now. That's the hot one. And it's popular because it produces results. That the people who are holding it say that it does X, Y, and Z, and then you go there and it does the X, Y, and Z. When it stops doing the X, Y, and Z, or it fails to do the X, Y, and Z, then it's just next. It's not. That's how it works. So after thousands of years of operating like this, you come to find that a lot of indigenous people tend to say the same things, right? Tend to say the same things, right? That kind of thing. So that kind of thing. What about us Nwa Afo? What I know about Nwa Afo is that Nwa Afo are they're reliable, they are steady, they are very traditional. They're very traditional. They are they're just solid. Just solid ass people, They're solid ass people. Great with kids, strong connection to children. They're giving. I think of what else. Excuse me. They're well tempered too. They're well tempered. They don't operate in extremes. Let me say that. They don't operate in extremes. So, never mind. Ross says, "Oh, I'm definitely bigger than him." But you know who I was talking about. Sometimes I'm like, man, this looks like Uche. Oh, never mind. He looks bigger than you, but I don't know. Too much food has power too. Stop eating. No, you can eat. What do mermaids mean? Well, the general idea is that there are beings that live in water, and one of the beings that people have said live in water are Ezenwai. They're actually called Ezenwai back home, or mermaids. Ezenwai is also the name of a female dibia, right? Some people will call them Mami Wata, but that's more pigeon. It's not an Igbo term, it's a pigeon term. Eze Bulumiri is one of the names for Nemiri, the water, the Abara of water, as well as mermaids. I'm trying to think of some other names that mermaids have back home. But yeah, they're not liked. They're not very liked at all in our culture. They're not liked at all. The general idea is that they are not your friend, But there are some people that say that they are the source of their inspirations and gifts, especially when it comes to the arts. Oliver de Coke has said as much. There's actually a Benin man by the name of Victor Waifo. He says the same, that he gets his music from a mermaid. Very, 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 very big part of the spiritual makeup of my region of Africa. Huge part of it. Nemiri is also depicted as a mermaid. She's often depicted as a mermaid. Or half woman, half python. But also half woman, half fish. Is Nzu chalk a common resource? We are the Nzu. We are the Nzu depot of Africa. We use Nzu times 20. If somebody's using Nzu, we've already used it twice. We've already used it 5 times. So yes, Nzu is a big part of everything. Is it something reserved? No, no, no. Anybody can deal with Nzu. Pregnant women eat Nzu. You can use Nzu to like transfer energies like omomo, things like that. Like if a pregnant woman gives you Nzu, she's spreading that omomo to you. Or a woman who's just given birth, she's giving that omomo to you. Nzu is the same spirit as water. It's the same spirit as water. Okay, so but it's in rock form, and it's used in everything. There's nothing that's like only DBS do this or that kind of thing. Especially there's something that's like only Ozo, only Nze, other titles, but there are a few things that's just only Dibia, right? There are very few things that are there's nothing that's really only. I was gonna even say Afa, but that's not that. Not really, that kind of thing. But no, Nzu, everybody uses Nzu's normal. Nzu's like a snack at home. You can eat it. I used to do Nyabingi with my roster friends in Chicago. Okay, all right. The mimics the heartbeat. Those were good times. Yeah, it's powerful. Jazz, a medium for communicating with spirits. Yes, perfect, perfect. When are you around? When you're around someone and you feel a warmth or a spiritual energy from them, what is the feeling you are experiencing? That is the 5th or the 1st space or layer of Mmuo, right? Which is aura, O-R-A, aura, or ihi, which is like their light. It's their light. You're feeling that person's light. And in essence, it's like, you can say you just have hands, right? Right? So if somebody puts their hand on you, you're going to feel them. Everybody's hands feel different on your skin. There's that feeling is communicating a lot. But your hands don't just end at this. You have this aura around you. You have this aura around you, right? And it radiates outwards, and it can be felt by other people, right? It can be felt by other people. Some people are more sensitive to feeling that particular part of a person, right? It's just as much a part of you as your hand. And it sends similar messages back and forth, right? Excuse me. It sends similar messages back and forth. Now, what's interesting in the Igbo language is the word aka can say hand, but the word aka can also say spirit. Aka. That's why you get aka ogili. That comes from afa. Aka ogili is like a malicious spirit, a wandering, like a spirit that doesn't mean well. An evil spirit. Ajo Mmuo. Aka ogili, right? That kind of thing. So yeah. Aka is spirit, Aka is hand, and so that's what you're feeling. It's like their hand is on you. Only it's their light hand. Their light hand, let me say that. When you are around, okay, I read that. It's interesting, African understand. Electromagnetic spectrum, absolutely. Well, let me not say absolutely, right? I don't like to do like the one-to-one cross comparisons because I think sometimes when you do that, I'm not saying you did something wrong, Andrew, but sometimes when you do that, you lose what is unique about one or the other. Sometimes it becomes like a shortcut for, oh, that's that, right? So the reason I say absolutely is like, there's a connection. There's definitely something there, but, who knows? Did you remember the story of Chuku being stupid yet? Yeah, I'm going to share it in a video pretty soon. So there are multiple stories about like Chuku being like tricked or being dumb. Or stories where Chuku's the villain. And so yeah, I'm going to share it in when the video is ready yet. But it's a whole genre. There's many of them. All right. I have a collection of them in the library in the Chuku folder. And in the folk tale folder. Folklore folder. So if you're a patron, check those 2 places. You'll find something interesting. Thanks for that, John. I haven't seen you in a while either. I feel like I haven't seen you in a while, John. Ubulungudo. Ubulungudo. Hey, Ubulungudo. Nengwenyi udo no bia. Why are you? Your name is Muda, child of Uda, child of Uda. Do you know who Uda is? Why are you not behaving like Uda? Uda is peace, but Uda is actually Amadioha, if you know, if you want to know. But you're not behaving peaceful like Amadioha. You're behaving like Ubulu Mwekwensu. Every time you come on, you start fighting people. Is there a combination between Ele and Mmuo? So I was talking to Nze, the guy who wrote Lepers of the Magic Dawn, and what he said was that Mmuo is the self-observer. Check this out. And I think maybe this is where you're going. Mmuo is the self-observer, right? So in order for a person to exist, they have madam, which is whatever you want to call it, person, and then more, let's call it spirit. And they observe each other. And in observing each other, that person comes into reality. It creates reality. Those two things have to witness each other. One of the things he said a long time ago, and that it clicked later for me, where I was like, oh, I get it, was that the moi is not just the self-observer in the sense of you observing yourself, but moi as an essence is the creator observing reality, right? The creator observing reality. So it's almost like cosmic memory. Moi is like a cosmic memory, or moi is like a cosmic observer. So ele, moi, I see what you did there. I commend you. I commend you. Yeah, so the same thing he saw and told me is probably the same thing you're seeing, or maybe you're curious about. Ele, for those who don't know, is one of the names of maybe Agho, maybe Chuku, I don't know. But it's the observer, the cosmic observer. And the idea in Odinani is that two things must observe each other in order for the spark to happen, in order for it to exist, right? That's why earlier I was saying that everything is explained in dualities, right? Uzu nanka, Uzu, let's call Uzu technology, Nka, craft. Ofonugu, Alanigwe, Ekenachi, Madonna Mmuo, I'm trying to think of some other ones. Anyanwu na Abara. There's just everything is a duality, right? So, but those two things have to observe each other for reality to happen, right? Sky must observe Earth. Earth must observe sky for this space to be, right? If the sky goes away, this whole thing goes away. If the Earth goes away, this whole thing goes away. So, Odema. So Ele relates to that concept, right? Ele relates to that, the observer. I think Ele has a relationship with Agu, right? But I haven't thought too much about it. I haven't thought about Ele for a long time. Let me put it that way. Ubulungudo mechono lenso bugi. Mechono owana bagi. Hey, I don't know why this always causing trouble. Non wayo now. It's all love. Are the initiation rituals for Iz and Y different from Debia's? No. 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 But the male part of my brain is telling me that it might be softer, like it may not be as extreme. But I don't think they're different. Right? I don't think they're different at all. Is it true? It's just the term D in Debia, the D implies is male. So some women call themselves Debias, and that's not a problem either, right? It's not that deep. But traditionally, the D implies male, and then is and Y is like just like a masterful woman, a wise woman, a D, the D of a DBO, like a woman that does the thing that DBOs do, that kind of thing. Or I don't even want to say it that way, but like a medicine woman. There. Is Afa Yoruba or Igbo origin? Igbo. It is very Igbo. It's alleged, according to Ikem people, it's from their town. Ikem and I think Abia State. According to Ikem people, it's in their town. And there's a node in Afa that says Ikem people. So I don't know. But it looks like it's Igbo because a lot of the words in Afa have direct Igbo translation. Like they translate directly, or they're still used in the Igbo language, right? And then you go to the other, it's not the same. So like a lot of them are still just right. In fact, I wouldn't say all of them are still regular Igbo. It's just maybe I don't know that deep of Igbo. I'm like maybe some Shakespearean shit. Whoa! I just got sprayed. All right, so hey, see how I sacrifice for the village? What does Ubulu mean? Ubulu is brain. Ubulu is brain. Biafra War, how have you contributed? Must everything be said? Must everything be said? Must everything be said? Well, is there a resource that you can direct me that discusses personal attributes based on the 4 market days? Also, are there names given based on the days? I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but it's kind of a common knowledge thing, right? It's kind of like, Aries does this, Pisces does that. So there's a lot of people on YouTube that are sharing those different market day traits. I would look at Ekeuri Afonkwo market days or type in traits. It's all over the place. People like talking about it a lot. Facebook, a lot of people have made good posts explaining all the different ones, like Eke is this, they do that, Orie is this, they do that. Cross-reference your sources as well, so don't just take my word for it, see what other people are saying, and yeah, all the more. And guess what? So you start to use your... Sounds like a weed there. How do I utilize the power of Nkwo? Nkwo is wind. Nkwo is wind, right? Nkwo is wind. Nkwo is the 4th day. Sorry, what am I doing? Nkwo is the 4th day of the week, so that's a big question. Some rituals work best on Nkwo. And then we're also just talking about wind too, so I don't know. Build like a windmill farm? I don't know. Breathing techniques. Umend is it's like a breathing art from Igbo culture, in Igbo culture, that's just used to connect to your chi and that kind of thing. Very similar to Eastern meditative breathing. Very similar, that kind of thing. I tried to speak to my Indiche with tarot cards, but they didn't like it. I've been trying to use cowries, but they don't make sense to me. Yeah, I don't know how to use cowries. I'm not like, I don't do divination a lot. It's not something that I'm compelled to, but it's fascinating, extremely fascinating. And when it comes to ancestors, tend to deal with what they know. They like what they knew or what they know, right? So something like tarot cards, you as a Black African, they're probably looking at yo, what the fuck is this? Oh shit. Yeah, so they're probably looking at you like, my friend, if you don't get... Woo! I just got sprayed with water and the connection. Hey, I don't know if the stream on a new stream. What's going on? It just says I've been here for 30 seconds. So no, I don't, YouTube needs to get a grip. Okay, I see everybody's fighting. No questions. What category are Nsuka region people? Ake Kumeku. Ask your people, ask your dad, ask your mom. It's common knowledge. I just don't have it in my head. I don't know the Enugu landscape that well. I think I could. Don't quote me. Abaja is a term I've heard, but I don't know where to place them. But ask, like, what do they call Nsuka people? Like, they call these ones Isu. They call these ones this. They call these ones that. I know that. I want to say they call. Anyways, yeah, there's a rude term that people tend to use, and I'm going to be specific. When I say people, I mean Anambra people specifically, tend to use for people from that area, which is funny because their capital qualifies as from that area too, but that's a whole different thing. But that's not the actual term. So figure out from your folks what it's called. There's maps too, like culture maps of Igbo land. Though them goofy ass we're Hebrew people are coming and they're distorting everything and they're making fake. Oh, we're all Idu. We're all Idu. Idu means Hebrew and just stupid shit. So leave that alone. Ademma. Ubulu Mudo, it's not your time. Yeah, Ubulu, shut up. I don't. What the fuck? What's your problem? How did Europeans get rich? Through the concept of the corporation. Through the concept of the corporation. So if you understand the concept of the corporation, um, uh, weaponizing the concept of the corporation, and then mixed with the discovery in the European understanding of the New World. So all those things combined definitely gave Europe an advantage. And then since then, it's been like the controlling of people's standards and practices, right? So like if I make the rules, I get to tell you how much money I have, right? I get to tell you where I am in the mountain. But the original kickstart was the weaponizing the idea of the corporation. Combined with the interaction with the New World, like United States, all that stuff. And that was spurred by the Muslims blocking their access to the Mediterranean and then them having no choice but to try something else. So it's a long, long history. It's a long, long history. How do you reconcile turning to Odinala with your upbringing? I grew up Christian, but I don't practice. But there's also things I don't agree with in Odinala. Yeah, I'm not. I was never a Christian. I was never a Christian a day in my life. Um, if you're an Igbo person, you grew up Odinala, whether you know it or not. It's not really. It's not a religion. And there's things I don't agree with either. There's things everybody doesn't agree with. It's not like a. It's not like a. It's really hard to explain this to people. I don't. Odinala is just being is Igbo thoughts, is Igbo thinking. So it's not something you subscribe to, and it's not something you necessarily have to agree with, right? It's just all these African spiritual systems. It's just like the thought system of the Yoruba people, the thought system of the Igbo people, the thought system of the Congo Basin people, and so forth, right? But yeah, if your parents broke Oji, if your parents have titles, all that is Odinala, right? But maybe they're them really weird ass ones that they're committed to not doing any of that shit. Then okay, yeah, then so be it. But no, I didn't grow up Christian, so there wasn't like a transition I had to make or anything like that. I was blessed to have that as an upbringing. I don't think. No, I think I still would have been the same if I grew up Christian. That shit's kind of goofy. I would have been the same. I would have been the same. Hey, wait, the fuck? I would have been the same. Because, like, my dad wasn't Christian. My grandfather wasn't his grandfather. But them missionaries were floating around, so they obviously heard something like, yo, what the fuck's that guy talking about? But everybody else was like, yo, yeah, I like this, So I probably would have been the same, too, my kids are probably going to be the same, that kind of thing. So I'll do my... But yeah, I mean, it's not by force, so we're not recruiting over here. In fact, I'm actually trying to get people to go back to church because there's a lot of buffoonery that they're bringing from the church over here and making this shit weird. So they need to go back to the church. So I'm actually, I'm now an evangelist. I'm trying to get people to go back to church. We're not recruiting, we're not recruiting. Um, a good market sells itself, right? And I'm not in the business of convincing. I'm making it available for those people that are interested and those people who it makes sense to. But I'm actually a full blown evangelist right now. Like I'm a full blown Odumeje Abidoshe. What's that one's name for my American people? I'm a full blown. I'm trying to pick one that's not like that doesn't have like Diddy charges. Kurt Franklin, is he cool? Kurt Franklin looks exactly like my best friend in the village when I was in Nigeria growing up. Like they look like twins. Sometimes I'll send him a picture of Kurt Franklin and just be laughing. Ah, but yeah, I'm like Kurt Franklin. I'm sending people back to church. We don't need the silliness. If one person understands Odinala, so be it. Like, so long as that person is serious minded. All that fanatical ass. Appease, appease. My chi is my chi. How do I know my chi's mad at me? It's gonna kill me. The end of day. Get the fuck out. God, go over there. You know what I mean? I love answering questions, but like all that high energy fanaticism shit, go away. Go. If you meet an Odinani person and they don't kind of remind you of Pete, don't you? Yeah, it's just that nigga's fucking, let that nigga go, bro. I can go into that too, but that's a whole different conversation. Am I even still here? So they look at you like, yeah, you do talk very proper, my man. Listen, the way I talk, I guess, but the way I talk is very alarming to anybody who's doing something nefarious. The way I talk it's just something I've learned in life, right? It's just something I've learned in life. That the way I talk is very alarming and off putting to people who, to some people. As, especially given that I have the exact same interests as them, but the people with those interests don't ever sound like me. I mean, in Nigeria and over here too. People that talk like me, they go to the village, they stay indoors, they eat peanut butter, and then they go home, right? They're not going to be walking through the forest. So I'm walking through the forest and somebody sees me, I'm like, oh, hey, hello. Right? So I have accepted that as that's just life. That's what my life is going to be. It's not a bad thing, right? A lot of my friends here in America, they like to get into activities, but they definitely are never going to invite me into the activity because the way I sound, sound like the, I sound like the feds, allegedly. I don't think I sound like the feds. I think I sound like my dad. But my life story has created a situation where on paper, a lot of my interests and way of being don't make sense, right, to people on the outside. But I'm cool, man. I'm not a snitch. So yeah, I remember I was talking to them Biafra people. Them motherfuckers. There was a Biafra protest in nowhere, and they were chanting. So I start chanting with them. Everybody goes. These were like militants, And I start chanting. They're looking at me like, "Who sent this goddamn?" I was like, that's when I realized, oh, okay, I gotta hang out from a distance, bro, because this shit don't make any sense. But yeah, I'll join the BF. I don't know. Okay, your knowledge is needed. They're never going to think I know what I'm talking about. This is what I'm trying to explain to you. They are never, ever, ever going to think I know what I'm talking about because of how I sound. So maybe I can tell you stuff and then you can go tell them. But the way, oh, thank you, Nandi. Hey, there's sprinklers here, so you gotta be careful. My son brought me a blanket. So they're never going to think I know what I'm talking about because of how I sound. They're also like they're just going to assume I'm American, and because I am, and that's going to be alarming. You understand? It's alarming, and it's like the Africans tend to think like Americans don't get it. You know what I mean? Like they don't get it. You know, so even with this channel I have, people think I'm like a preliminary to meeting a Divya. People think that once they're done talking to me, they'll go talk to the Divya, and then that one will know more. And it's just because of how I sound. Because it doesn't make sense. And it's okay. It's a rare thing. I'm like a Galapagos. I always say I'm a Galapagos pigeon, man. I'm just a bird you don't see often. So yeah, knowledge is needed. We be declared 2nd of December. Your reaction, I voted for wherever. Yeah, man, I mean, power to everybody. Whatever anybody needs from me, I'm here. Anything that is needed from me, I'm here. But just know that when I talk, they think what the fuck? What is he doing here, right? Right? Like, let's just say we're all sitting in the room and the CIA sent somebody to spy. I definitely am a high suspect, so I'm gonna hang out. I have to hang out from more of a distance that I'd like, but it's okay. It's okay. That's just what I accept it,
Daddy.
Yeah. A lot of people like the way I sound, so yeah.
Is that the moon or the sun?
Oh, wow. Dang. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So there's a very low, I want you guys to see it. Onwa. You see that? I don't know if I can zoom in. Can I zoom in?
Let me see.
Oh, wow, you can zoom in. I zoomed in. So the moon is very low. Onwa is very low and very golden, like super golden, to the point of looking like the sun, right? Very golden. Something special.
What's happening?
What's happening?
What's happening?
I don't know what's happening. What do you think is happening?
Maybe this was because of the fireworks.
Maybe it's the fireworks? I don't think the fireworks have that much power. I think it probably means that today's a special day.
So, I mean, this caused the fireworks. Did this cause the fireworks?
Adebuya is the water goddess. Okay, great. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Huh?
Because of this moon, did it cause the fireworks?
No. There's no connection between the fireworks and the moon. The moon was gonna do what the moon was gonna do, no matter what, even if there was no fireworks.
Oh.
Yeah, but that's cool.
I can see it rising.
Yeah, it looks like the sun.
Yeah, it does.
I don't think it's rising. I think it's just gonna be very low today.
It looks like it's going down.
What are the spiritual implications between the Kendrick and Drake beef? What do the Orishas say about the ways we need to pop out and show niggas during these times? LOL, JK, JK. And funny enough, I was talking about me and my brothers are the biggest hip-hop heads on planet Earth, bar none. And both of them have like rap channels, hip-hop channels,
It's rising.
Again, because of the way I sound, it'd be crazy to have me on there. Like, what does this Fed know about Kendrick and Drake? Yeah, what's up?
It's rising.
It's rising?
It's rising.
Oh, it is rising. You're right. Wow. That's crazy. It's looking right. You know how the moon has a face? Have you seen the face on the moon?
No.
Look really close. You'll see 2 eyes and a mouth. You see it?
I do.
Yeah, it's looking right at us. Okay, cool. But yeah, Kendrick and Drake, man. I mean, what do you want to hear about that? Let's save that for another day. I'm about to hop. I'm getting kind of tired. But I've talked about it on TikTok and all my conspiracy theories about it and all that stuff. So find me on TikTok, that kind of thing. I'm also not gonna follow anybody back on TikTok. Um, it is not to be rude. I just want to make sure my algorithm is like just only influenced by the stuff I go to, you know? Doesn't mean I won't watch your videos. I just don't want to do the whole following thing. So, never mind. Doesn't mean I don't like you. The whole thing is kayfabe. They're both chained to the same label. Hmm. 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 I don't know, maybe. He got hit. He got hit by an asteroid. I'm AA, and I asked Izengwai about my chi, and she said that she died young. Your Chihuahua. Yeah, okay. She died young, and no one in my family knew about her. And Grant, uh-oh. Okay, more sprinklers are coming. We might get sprayed. So let's see. So, but it's just water anyways. My son hates getting wet. Uh, I'm AA and I asked, I'm AA and I asked Is and Why about my chi. And she said that she died young. So your Chihuahua, right? The person who was you in the previous life died young and no one in my family knew about her. Wow. And grandma is late. Interesting. How can I feed my chi if I can't call her name? I don't use the name of my Chihuahua. Um, I don't use the name of my Chihuahua either, but I just use like a title. So I use I'm not gonna say the title, but I use a title to refer to. So since you know her story, you can use a title that says her like maybe the someone girl that was not known, right? Or find a title to refer to her. Um, and so forth. And then, the term feed chi kind of causes confusion, but just give her whatever you're eating, give her whatever you're drinking, But it helps. It's nice to know their names, but it's not always necessary. It's better to know their names, but it's not like you can't without it. So you can just say Onyuwam, Onye Uwam, Onye space Uwa apostrophe M. Onyuwam. You can say another name, Chi space Uwa Uwa apostrophe M. Chiwam, right? You can say Onye Onye space Elom ILO apostrophe M. You can use any of those three names, whichever one comes out of your tongue easier. Chiowam, Onyowam, Onyilum, right? Or Mmuo Sochim, right? Which is more of a mouthful. You can check the chat for how to spell that. Or you can give her a title. I gave mine a title. I gave mine a title. But that's a powerful story. Thanks for sharing that, right? But there's a song, Google Abruchi. Ilo Aburuchi. Your Onyilo is not your chi. People at home will say chi, which, sure, but your chi is not this. You can't feed your chi. There's nothing you can give your chi, except acknowledgement. But your Onyo, and acknowledging your chi is really about yourself, feeding yourself. It doesn't, your chi is fine. But your Onyowa, right, can be invited to walk with you, invited to guide you, invited to be one with you. And if your Chiowa, your Onyowa is one with you, you eat with her, you drink with her, you do, as you do, you include her, right? You remember her, that kind of thing. You honor her, things like that. That invites your Onyowa to walk with you and to awaken within you and to guide you, however your cosmic imagination frames it. And if you understand that, then you'll know that feeding your chi is not like, some of these DBs, they got services to sell. Some of these DBs have services to sell. So, oh, that's what that's about. But it's not all this. Everybody wants feed my chi, feed my chi. You know, if you're eating something, just leave some at your altar. You know, when you feel like sweep it away from the altar when you're cleaning, you're fine. Your chi is fed. If you're drinking some water, I give mine water. I give mine cola nuts. I give mine there's this juice I drink. I gave mine some, and then the next time I tried to drink that juice, it was nasty to me. So somebody in my Ezumezu said, "Hey, quit drinking that bullshit." So I chilled. I stopped. But yeah, I don't know. Use your ignore button. But it's your father that'll use the ignore button. What is Yoruba spirituality called? Ifa or Orisha or something? It's Isese. I think it's Isese. Or Isheshe, which is Ise, I believe. But I'm not an expert on that, so if I'm wrong, I wouldn't be surprised. Seems like from what I need, I read a lot of doesn't apply to women. They only seem to allow practice after getting married. Is this accurate? There are things that are for women, there are things that are for men, but the things that have survived more tend to be the things that are for men. So it's not that they're not for, like, if there's something for men, there's a female equivalent. So if you're dealing with somebody who knows what they're talking about, which is usually an older person, ask them what is the woman's version, or what does a woman do, right, in these things. So but that's really that, you know. And then there's some things where there isn't an equivalent, but the general effect is it creates interdependence so that the two need each other. So for example, now I'm going to take an Inze title. And once I take an Inze title, I cannot physically enter a kitchen. I also eat food that wasn't cooked by my wife, right? That's an Inze zone. An Inze can't eat food that wasn't cooked by their wife or wasn't prepared specifically for Inzes, right? And that means that like it was prepared, then your wife gave the blessing, like, okay, you can give this to him and so forth. And then when I eat, I have to eat separate from everybody. And just a bunch of stuff. And it's a title I'll be taking, and so forth, because that's who I am. But like if I'm an Inza, I can't enter a kitchen, and then my wife can't enter my obi. And then if you understand the way like the compound is set up in the traditional sense, the woman's altar is in the kitchen or in front of the house, right? So a lot of those things is like jurisdiction. Like Igbo culture has a very strong emphasis on jurisdiction, and so this one's for the dudes, this one's for the that kind of thing. So oh yeah, but a lot of people don't know the ones that are for the women, right? Two things: when the colonialists came, they really made sure to try to stamp out women's traditions, because if you read a lot of colonial texts, the fact that they had to get consensus from the men and the women annoyed them. They just wanted to go to one place, so they try to have like a man in charge of everybody, and then that's what ends up causing the Aba women's riots, and then the women's war. The women's war starts the Nigerian independence movement. And then Nigeria gets its independence and shit like that. So, but one of the things they did after the women's war is they tried to like get rid of a lot of the women's traditions, and so forth. So, I mean, so I will be making a video on the women's traditions, but I'm gonna tell you guys the truth. If I say something's for women and something's for men, people don't give a shit. The women in themselves don't care about the women's one, and it's unfortunate and sad. And I'm thinking that maybe a woman needs to tell them. I don't know. But if I say oh Momo Ikenga, all the questions are gonna be about Ikenga. Nobody asks me about no goddamn Momo. Nobody asks me about no fucking Momo, even though the main arushi that people go to till this day are the ones that channel all Momo, all these different ones, but they don't want to ask me about that. They want to ask Ikenga. If I say that men do this, women do that, in people's mind, the woman one is the inferior. So I don't know how to like change that, and that's not what it's supposed to be. Um, but I don't know. There's how people think. So I've presented a lot of women's things. People just don't give a shit. I don't. They don't care. And so one of it was the colonials trying to stomp things out. Another one was when the church came, it was the women that joined. It was the women that were interested. Even today, if you go to the village and look at the church, it's going to be like 70% women, right? Those are the ones that joined, those ones that are interested. And then you'll tend to notice that a lot of the families that did like hard conversions were the families where there was a rift between the husband and the wife, right? It was very common. Or like polygamous families where they're not that close. And so the kids are completely raised by the mother, and then they become Christians and all that shit. But a lot of fathers are sending their kids to the thing too. But the men's traditions that they've held on to, men have held on to their traditions a little bit more, right? They've held on to it a little bit more. So whenever people are like, oh, I want to do that thing, it's actually a guy, like, okay, I want to have a red cap, okay, that's for men, that kind of thing. But they have like like for example, women, the ivory bracelets, big ivory bracelet, ivory on the neck, ivory on the ankles. But nobody wants to do Odu title anymore, right? Nobody wants to do Odu. Everybody wants to say, oh, why can't we be chiefs too? Why can't we be chiefs too? Nobody wants. If you tell them about Odu, they'll say, yeah, what the fuck? I'm not doing that. That gearly title. So. I don't know. I wish it wasn't like that. I wish I wouldn't have to say this shit, but it's what it is. People don't care about women's titles and women's shit, Oh, my leg. Okay, eating clay while pregnant is common practice. African Americans in the South. Igbo DNA is strong. Yeah. You go on TikTok, my TikTok feed, man. I ain't no African. And it's always some vehemently Nigerian looking motherfucker saying this shit too, right? His name will be like Darius, but he just looks like he's just me, It'd be me talking about, see, I'm a Chippewa, I mean, like, maybe if like, there's some Native American look, if one of them said it, sure. But the ones that really go hard on these things tend to look Nigerian as hell. So we're the problem. Nigerians must be the problem. What do I? Oh, you guys' questions are so good, but honestly, the spirit that animates me for this has left me. So I do need to take some rest, and I'm gonna miss a lot of questions. But hey, let's try to be here next week. I typically go live on Saturdays, but my mom came over, which was really awesome. So I just wanted to spend time with her, and so I did it today. But as always, those of you guys, so we're going to start the next round of signing up for the traditional medicine class and the Igbo class. If you want to be able to attend both, a shortcut I would advise is joining the Ezumezu tier on Patreon. If you're Ezumezu, you can just say, hey, sign me up for this class, sign me up for that class. If you want to do both, you get it. So it's kind of like a really good package, I think, right, to do the Ezumezu tier. But if you want to just do one, I could go to www.kedu.me, sign up for the Igbo language course and the traditional medicine class. I'm still waiting to see somebody take both because they complement each other very well, right? They complement each other unbelievably well. Actually, no, we have had somebody take both. Gerard, yeah. Oh, and maybe I shouldn't be saying names. Chidimma and Teari. So yeah, okay, we have had people take both. Okay, my bad. I would like, okay, if you guys are listening, I want to hear your take on whether one has helped the other and so forth, because I think they complement each other well. But with that being said, best way to support channels on patreon.com/the medicine shell, or just by sharing this with somebody who you think would be interested, hitting that damn like button. So that being said, uno gadi, uno geto, nko ọbụla unu tiri aka ọ ga-adị n'ụwa, ọ ga-adị otu a na eke, n'orie, na afọ, na nkwọ, ise.